£50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB19, PO Box 8690, Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
We were looking earlier at the coin that the Australian Mint have minted, a commemorative coin of the late Queen Elizabeth. Everybody is noting that even though it's selling apparently like hot cross buns for $100, it doesn't look like her at all. I think we've got the picture and we can show you. But
I can see
one of our viewers, lovely viewers, has texted in already and said, she looks like Hyacinth Bouquet.
Yeah.
She does, doesn't she?
She does a little bit.
She doesn't look like the Queen.
I mean, I can see how it is the Queen, but it's because it's face on, and it's you don't get the sort of depth of it in a way. So she just looks rounder, flatter.
Yes, I'd say that.
Whereas
I'd say so.
It's not a coin that's going to be used as money. What do you call it? It's not
legal tender.
Legal tender.
Oh, is it not legal tender?
No, it's just a commemorative coin. So I suppose instead of doing it the traditional way of just a profile pic, they've gone for something a bit, well, you know, more personality, a bit warmer.
They've given her a funny grin as well.
Very odd mouth.
Didn't coins used to like that used to be legal tender though?
They can be. It depends where you get them.
Right.
Depends. I mean, because sometimes they do ones that are minted in Jersey and things that you get over here, which you can't spend. But some of them you can. I mean, if you get the commemorative coins over here from the Royal Mint, then you can technically spend them, but people aren't obliged to take them.
I've been to a branch of Royal Mint.
Have you? Did you nick anything?
No, of course I didn't.
I would have done.
Well, Piers Pottinger is with us actually here in the studio as well, and he's just sort of said, actually, it looks a bit more like Les Dawson.
Yep.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Very, very good afternoon to you. It's 3 p.m. Welcome to the Martin Daubney Show here on GB News. We're broadcasting live across the UK. All the very latest news, debate and analysis all the way through until 6 p.m. And here's what's coming up on today's action-packed show.
Never walk away from the mandate I was given to change this country. I will never walk away from the people that I'm charged with fighting for. And I will never walk away from the country that I love.
The Prime Minister says he will never walk away, but might he be shoved away by the electorate? The Prime Minister makes his first appearance since resignation calls, saying he will fight against what he calls the divisive politics of reform. Are we witnessing the end of the Keir show? And today, Andy Burnham gave Keir Starmer his support.
Yes, he has my support. The government has my support. It is absolutely right that people give the government stability in this moment.
But lest we forget, Sir Keir Starmer gave similar support and confidence to Morgan McSweeney right before he got the chop.
Does he have the same full confidence in Morgan McSweeney that he had in Peter Mandelson?
Prime Minister. McSweeney is an essential part of my team. He helped me change the Labour Party and win an election.
So Sir Keir Starmer has rolled up his sleeves. He said he'll never walk away, but is he still dead man walking? And when might his political enemies make their move? And is the Labour Party about to take the historically unprecedented decision to drop His Majesty from the title of HM government and instead do a woke rebrand as the UK government? Monarchist centrists are slamming this woke rebrand as a gross affront to the crown. Are we lurching towards a socialist republic whose motto is, "The King is dead, long live the Keir"? And you ever wonder why you can't get a GP appointment? Well, astonishing new data published today shows a record 752,000 immigrants registered with GPs last year. That's as many patients in 1 year alone as the entire population of Liverpool, Bradford, Sheffield, Leicester or Newcastle. With 1 in 10 of all new NHS patients born overseas, is our NHS being killed by their uncontrolled immigration? Welcome to the show. Well, Sir Keir Starmer survived the night after standing ovations that were surely concocted, after rounds of applause that rang hollow afterwards. Sir Keir Starmer lived to fight again. Today in the community centre, his sleeves rolled up, desperately trying to convince the nation he has a personality. He's a Prime Minister worth fighting for. But his political allies are in their bunker as his enemies surely are circling. Can Sir Keir Starmer survive the by-election? Can Sir Keir Starmer survive May's election rounds? Can Sir Keir Starmer survive as Prime Minister? Get in touch the usual ways. GBNews.com/your say is the way to do so. You can scan the QR code on your screens right now. But get stuck into your headlines now. Here's Sam Francis.
Very good afternoon to you. Just after 3 o'clock, the top story this hour. Sir Keir Starmer has said he will never walk away from the country that he loves and vowed that he won't stop fighting for working people. That's after the Prime Minister spoke to members of the public in just the last few minutes at a cost of living event in Hertfordshire. And that was just a day after his position came under fire.
Never walk away from the mandate I was given to change this country. I will never walk away from the people that I'm charged with fighting for. And I will never walk away from the country that I love.
Meanwhile, Andy Burnham has said he supports the Prime Minister, calling for unity within the Labour Party as pressure continues to mount on Sir Keir Starmer. The Mayor of Greater Manchester said he has spoken directly to Sir Keir, urging a stronger sense of teamwork and for internal briefings among the party to be dialed down as it faces intense scrutiny.
Yes, he has my support. The government has my support. It is absolutely right that people give the government stability in this moment. I don't agree with you that the government hasn't done anything to support, as you say, working class Britain. I reference things that we are doing with the government support in Greater Manchester.
Well, earlier, Sir Keir Starmer thanked what he called a strong and united cabinet for backing him, telling a Crunch meeting he is not prepared to walk away. Senior figures among the party have rallied behind the Prime Minister, including Eluned Morgan, the First Minister of Wales, who said he is an honourable man who is committed to public service. The Prime Minister also insisted the Labour Party remains united behind Anas Sarwar, despite him earlier calling for him to resign. Meanwhile, though, the Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch has claimed some of the Labour MPs have indicated they would back a vote of no confidence, saying it's only a matter of time before Sir Keir's position is tested.
It is still a matter of when, not if, the Prime Minister goes, because we are still waiting for the release of those documents which he committed to releasing last week. We still haven't seen the details of how he made this disastrous appointment. And instead, what we're hearing is that the Cabinet Office is telling ministers not to release their text messages with Peter Mandelson. That's completely wrong.
In other news this hour, Buckingham Palace says it stands ready to support police if contacted over allegations involving Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. In a statement, a palace spokesman said the King has made his profound concern clear over allegations that continue to emerge, stressing that the specific claims are for Mr Mountbatten Windsor to address himself. Thames Valley Police has confirmed it is assessing claims that Andrew shared confidential documents with the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein while serving as the UK's trade envoy. Andrew has consistently denied any wrongdoing. The palace intervention follows comments earlier from the Prince and Princess of Wales, who also said they are deeply concerned by the latest revelations, adding that their thoughts remain firmly with the victims. A woman described by prosecutors as a skilled butcher has been found guilty of murdering her partner and cutting her body in half before burying the remains in a garden. Isabella Zablocka was reported missing in 2010. Her remains were discovered just last June, buried at a property in Derby. Derby Crown Court heard that Anna Potter-Warner, now 40 years old, contacted police last year to reveal where the body would be found. Prosecutors said mounting pressure had caused her to crack after a Polish television journalist travelled to the UK to investigate the case. She'll be sentenced tomorrow. And French authorities have rescued 66 migrants after their small boat broke down in the English Channel. The rescue took place off the coast of Calais after the vessel's engine failed. Everyone on board was brought to safety. It comes just days after an inquiry into the deadliest Channel crossing on record had warned that small boat journeys must end to prevent further loss of life. So far, Home Office figures show more than 1,200 people have crossed the Channel this year. Those are the latest headlines. More from me in around half an hour.
Thank you, Sam. Now, Keir Starmer has today warned he will never walk away from his mandate in his first public appearance since calls for his resignation. Now, speaking at a community centre in Hertfordshire earlier on today, the Prime Minister took aim at Reform UK's politics of divide, divide, divide as he fights for his political life. But is this a desperate attempt to save his premiership, and will it work? Well, I'm now joined by GBNews' political editor Chris Hope, who joins me from Parliament. Chris, welcome to the show. You're there on College Green. Sir Keir Starmer survived the night. The end of the Keir show didn't quite come today. He rolled his sleeves up. He said he will never walk away, but he saved his venom for Nigel Farage, for Reform, once again slamming them as the politics of divide, 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 grievance, grievance, grievance. But Chris Hope, I put it to you, the divides, the grievances, they're within Sir Keir Starmer's own party.
Well, they are. I mean, this is a party which is traumatised, I think, Martin, by what happened yesterday. They looked over the edge. They thought about replacing that man, Sir Keir Starmer, as leader. In the end, they couldn't do it. Of course, Anna Sarwar in Scotland went over the top of the trenches and no one went with him. He was then hosed down by enemy and friendly fire, you might say, if you continue the First World War analogy. But I thought you heard there from Sir Keir Starmer some of what he would have told the Parliamentary Labour Party last night. He said he'd never walk away from the country he loves. He talked in the first person, which is interesting for him, by the way, not normally does that, about the passion, why he's Prime Minister. This is language we haven't really heard from the Prime Minister. It may be that language which swayed the room last night. I talked to the MPs leaving the meeting last night, the Parliamentary Labour Party, that meeting which decided his future. Many said that the atmosphere changed, almost noticeably during the meeting as he kind of won them round. And that passion, frankly, is what Labour members, the Cabinet, want to see more of, and he's channeling it there in Hertfordshire. But with me now is Alex Burghart. He is the Cabinet Office, Shadow Cabinet Office Minister. Alex Burghart, your reaction there? He says there he'll never walk away from his country.
Yeah, well, maybe, but he might be dragged away, Chris, mightn't he? I mean, the fact is that the Prime Minister is in an incredibly precarious situation following that devastating line of questioning from Kemi Badenoch at Prime Minister's Questions last week. And then there was that 6-hour debate in the House that I was leading where we forced the government to say that it would hand over all the files associated with Peter Mandelson's appointment to be ambassador to Washington. But the fact is that the Prime Minister has already admitted that he knew that Peter Mandelson maintained this unhealthy relationship with Jeffrey Epstein after Epstein had been convicted of paedophilia and had taken his hospitality. And that should have been enough for him to know that this man wasn't fit to take up the biggest diplomatic post in our country. And I just think that you've been around a very long time, you've seen these situations before, it just all looks very precarious.
I saw it with the Tories a lot, I'm afraid to say. It felt very much like that last night outside that meeting. It does
feel like that, doesn't it, right? So we've seen it before, and now the boot is on the other foot, and it's just amazing how quickly they've fallen apart. And I think that the Prime Minister's got a lot to get through. He's got the by-election to get through, the local elections to get through. I mean, we'll just have to see how this washes out. But what I think we've all been very impressed by is how the Leader of the Opposition, Kemi Badenoch, has managed to really get the Prime Minister in her sights and, hold him down.
Well, no question that the scope of that humble address when she forced a huge amount of information, tens of thousands of documents to be released. The government now won't release that for weeks, I'm told. So this issue, you're smiling by that for those on the radio, you're smiling at that thought because that means some uncertainty really for this government for weeks and weeks going past the by-election, maybe towards the locals.
Well, that's right. And, I think that they'll probably try and spin this out because they've got votes coming, and we will do what we can to force them to step up and hand it over. It's very interesting that one of the contenders for the leadership, the Labour Party, decided to get out and get his stuff out quickly. Wes Streeting yesterday, that dump of WhatsApp messages messages with Peter Mandelson. So look, there's just, I wish that the government would do the right thing and get on and put all of this stuff in the public domain. Let's just get it all out on the table and see where we stand. This uncertainty is not good for the country.
Now, your job is also scrutinising the Cabinet Office and how it communicates with the country. You've found something, haven't you, in a rebrand, which may be a concern to GBNews viewers.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, there's sort of a Marxist revolution going on in the heart of government.
Steady on.
No, they've changed the branding of the government from His Majesty's government, HM government, to UK government. You know, what? They've taken HM, His Majesty, off of the branding. You know, so when we were in power for a long time, it's been the case that the government has been referred to as HMG, His Majesty's government. But the images I just sent you show that has now changed to UK government. And this is absolutely classic Labour. When they were last in power, you'll remember they stopped putting the Queen's name on things. They took the portraits of the Queen down from the government departments. This is absolutely textbook what you'd expect from a dangerous left-wing government.
OK. The government, of course, say this is about departments having their branding subsumed by the UK government. This is what they say to us. To provide clarity for the government, communications team are advised to use UK government rather than departmental names and logos for announcements. This doesn't affect the use of HM, His Majesty's government, which continues on relevant communication and records. So they would say they're still backing the King on how they present themselves, but you think the King's being snubbed here, maybe?
Yeah, you see, look at the stuff I just sent you, Chopper. They have absolutely downgraded His Majesty, which I think is quite frankly insulting. Off with their heads.
Do you think that the Labour government historically has likes to sort of tread quite heavily on tradition? They got rid of the law lords, created the Supreme Court. They have this habit of doing this maybe in the past?
Absolutely. I think there is definitely a strain within the Labour Party that is embarrassed about our history, that is embarrassed about our country. It's the same part of the Labour Party that wants to give away the Chagos Islands and pay £35 billion for the pleasure of doing so. You know, it's the truth is that they're not, they're not really at ease with the great past that this country has.
I should say Nick Thomas-Symonds, who's the Cabinet Office Minister, he says that a strategic decision has been made to adopt UK government as the primary identity of all public-facing communications, and we'll put later on our website the different images there to make that point.
No, thanks. And that's the answer that Nick Thomas-Symonds gave was in response to a parliamentary question tabled by my colleague Mike Wood that shows in black and white that the government is downgrading the King.
Right. There we have it, Martin Daubney. The government's downgrading the King. The government, of course, HM government, UK government, they deny that, but that's what the Tories are saying.
Yeah, the King is dead. Long live the Keir. Thank you very much. Chris Hope, join us there from College Green. See you later on in the show. Let's get some reaction now. I'm joined by the Labour commentator, Simon Greaves. Simon, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have your company. So, Sir Keir Starmer survived the night, but for how long? Let's be brutally honest. The man can't get a good headline anywhere. He's the least popular Prime Minister in history. As unpopular as Liz Truss. He's surrounded by enemies, surrounded by backstabbers. For now, he limps on. I want to talk to you about what he said today, because he's trying to reframe this debate around something he's done since he was the most tin-eared after the Southport killings. He's framing everybody who disagrees with him as racist and far right. Today, he said this: you've got a choice. The politics of divide, 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 grievance, grievance, grievance of Reform UK, that will tear our country apart. Echoing what Darren Jones has been briefing this morning, saying the country has a choice. A modern, diverse Britain led by Labour, or a dark Britain under Reform, a divisive Britain. Isn't it a bit rich of the Labour Party to say the country is divided? It is divided. It's divided into people who are utterly sick of this government and those who want change.
Well, there's been high drama over the last few days, without doubt. And I would say for a lot of Labour MPs, they need to hold their nerve. Yesterday was an important day. And what we're now seeing is a clear out at number 10. That will continue. That needs to happen. Dare I say the word reset is going to be taking place. But ultimately, the Prime Minister is looking towards framing what the choices are for the country. And it sounds to me that a lot of this is directed towards reminding MPs what the stakes are, the reason why they got elected in the first place as a Labour MPs and a Labour government, and what the real choices are for the country. The Conservatives are pretty much a corpse on the floor, and the real choice for the country is between a Labour government that's wanted to deliver for people and Reform UK.
Simon, the polling makes it clear that there isn't much of a choice at the moment. The Labour Party is going downhill faster than the GB Winter Olympics team. Let's get real. This is a concocted fantasy. The Labour Party is on the floor. It's bleeding to death. Sir Keir Starmer is the least popular Prime Minister in history. When is the Labour Party going to smell the coffee and replace him?
Well, I think I take offence at your criticism of the GB Winter Olympics team. They're doing a great effort out there. And in relation to Labour, of course, the polls are going to be impacted, but there's a long time to go yet. And, you know, there's output is on the up. Does anyone know about that? No, of course they don't. There's a lot of investment coming in. No one hears about that. And so I would say that it's Labour MPs focus on the delivery, focus on what's actually being delivered by government, as opposed to constant psychodrama.
But there is a constant psychodrama, and it's self-induced. It was the same in the final days of the Boris Johnson regime. History is repeating itself. Do you think the general public buy the notion that every Labour minister miraculously tweeted their support for the government within 20 minutes of each other? The fake standing ovations, the canned laughter in these meetings. Simon, you must know this is the end of the Keir show. You must know.
The truth is, it isn't the end of the Keir show. The Cabinet is behind the Prime Minister. Labour MPs will continue to have their grumbles, I'm sure of it. But in reality, the Labour government, it's taken a long time for Labour to get into office. It now is. It is actually getting on with things. There's a lot of work to do. And I've got no doubt there'll be lots of negative headlines. There'll be lots of bumps in the road. And that's why I say that Labour MPs and the Labour Party's got to hold firm in terms of the next few weeks and months. There's going to be lots of updates from GBNews about bumps in the road, I have to say, for the Labour Party. And rightly so, the party needs to be held to account. But actually, the important thing is delivering and focusing on the future of the country.
I want to play a short clip, if I could, Simon Greaves, from Sir Keir Starmer earlier on, once again lambasting Reform UK. And I wanted to explain to you why I think the Prime Minister is completely barking up the wrong tree. Let's listen.
The real fight is not in the Labour Party. It's with the right-wing politics that challenges that. The politics of reform. The politics of divide, divide, divide. Grievance, grievance, grievance. That will tear our country apart.
Simon Greaves, I just want to go back to what I think was the first and in many ways worst mistake Sir Keir Starmer made, and it was in the immediate aftermath of the Southport riots. I was sat in this very studio where he called people far right. He's doing it again. He's just doing it again. When will this party realise? You live in Bassetlaw, right? You know, Bassetlaw, red wall country. Like, how many people voted for Brexit there? A lot. How many people used to vote Labour and now don't? A lot. And you have a Prime Minister who seems to think that anybody who doesn't vote for the Labour Party is right-wing or racist. That is the politics of division. That is the politics of grievance. And you need to have a word with your Prime Minister, Sharpish, to stop it.
Well, I know a lot of people in Bassetlaw that have previously voted Labour and now support reform. I understand.
Are they racist? Are they far right?
I recognise that.
Are they voting for the politics of grievance? Or are they just fed up with the Labour Party?
They are not racist. They are people that are upset with the state of the place that they are in. They are upset with the economy. They are upset that their families don't have the standard of living that they deserve, that they struggle to go away on a well-deserved family holiday. They work hard and they take issue with people that don't work as hard. Now, that does not make them racist. But I have to say, what I will say is that Look, there are lots of flags that are being put up on lampposts in Bassetlaw and in Nottinghamshire. The holes in the road get bigger. That is a reform decision by the local authority. It is not improving the state of the roads. It may make people feel better, but spending money on flags from the road repair budget is not a way of improving the area. These are the decisions that Reform are making.
Did those potholes just like suddenly appear when Reform got in power? Or I'm from Nottingham. I drove through Nottingham all the way last weekend, all the way from Loudham, all the way into town, and then all the way out of Nottingham. The entire county is like the Somme. The roads are a disgrace everywhere. Right? And that's the same in Nottingham City Centre. Labour Council, come on. You can't just say that the Reform Party are making potholes worse all of a sudden from nowhere. That's a fantasy, and you know it. We've neglected the roads across this country, left, right and centre. But I want to put it to you again. It has to stop where the Labour Party calls people who don't agree with them racist or divisive or far right. Because if it doesn't, this Labour Party is going to get annihilated in the Red Wall. Annihilated. And I think you know that.
Well, the challenge is there for the Labour Party to persuade people to support them in the future. And I will say that I think Labour MPs that represent Red Wall constituencies understand the challenge that there is, are fighting for improvements in their communities and for additional funding from government. There are arguments to be had about actually what needs to be done for Labour to win in those local communities in the future. But I would say that everything is to play for. Yes, it's very incredibly difficult, but there's a long time to go yet before an election, and delivery needs to be the key.
Simon Greaves, I honestly want to thank you for coming on the show today and having the bottle to talk to me. You know, I mean that. Like, where are your ministers? Why won't they come on this show? Why won't Ed Miliband come on GB News? I think it's disgraceful. But I want to commend you for having the guts, having the balls to come on the show today. The public are furious, they're sick of being called racist, and we have to have these conversations. Simon Greaves, honestly, a tip of the hat to you. Thanks for coming on the show today. I appreciate your time. Thank you. You mind how you go.
Thank you.
Well, still to come. Will fresh Epstein scandal overshadow Prince William's Saudi Arabia trip? We'll be crossing to the Desert Kingdom with GB News' mover and shaker, Jack Carson. This is GB News, Britain's #1 news channel. Let's have it.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Time is 3:28. With me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, the King has said that Buckingham Palace is ready to support the police as they look at allegations regarding Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. And meanwhile, the Prince of Wales is in Riyadh for an historic trip aimed at strengthening diplomatic and trade ties with Saudi Arabia. And GB News' Jack Carson has been with him.
We're here in Riyadh in the Royal Terminal before we board a flight to continue the Prince of Wales's engagements in another Saudi Arabian city. We know this is a packed 3 days and we know the significance and importance that not only the Prince of Wales personally has in this trip, of course, deepening his relationship with the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, but also for His Majesty's government wanting further investment and deeper diplomatic relationships here in the region. Today, in a packed day of engagements, the Prince of Wales took part in some women's football earlier on today. It's important to stress how much of a significant engagement that is. 6 years ago here in Saudi Arabia, that engagement wouldn't have been possible. Such has been the rapid social change, modernisation here in the country over the past few years. Took part in a kickabout with some of the girls, shook their hands, asked them all about their own enjoyment of football, which is one of the biggest sports here in Saudi Arabia. Of course, himself a patron of the Football Association here in the United Kingdom, taking some penalties. Other engagements today, from physical football to something a bit more virtual. He's taken part in an esports tournament today, unfortunately losing 3-2 in that tournament, but it's one of the rapid growing commercial industries here in Saudi Arabia. Very much this country considers itself the home of esports, and taking part in that tournament, he's very much seeing the future. Of course, we know how much of an importance he places on environmentality, sustainability, and that's exactly what some of the engagements here in Saudi Arabia have been.
Thank you, Joe. What do you make about that? It's like, oh, girls can play football in Saudi Arabia. Aren't we progressive? Well, why couldn't they all along? Is there a slight concern here the royal family is kind of royal washing the dubious misogyny and public image of a country like Saudi Arabia? That's just my opinion. Loads more still to come between now and 4 p.m, including immigrants are now behind almost 1 in 10 new GP registrations, whilst our NHS is on its knees. 750,000 immigrants registered with GPs last year. Ever wondered why you can't get an appointment? First, here's your latest news headlines with Sam Francis.
Very good afternoon to you. Just after 3:30, the top story this hour. Sir Keir Starmer has said he will never walk away from the country that he loves or from the mandate he was given.
I will never walk away from the mandate I was given to change this country. I will never walk away from the people that I'm charged with fighting for. And I will never walk away from the country that I love.
Speaking at that event in Hertfordshire, the Prime Minister thanked his strong and united cabinet after renewed pressure on him. But the Tory leader, Kemi Badenoch, has said it's still a matter of when, not if, he goes. The Prince of Wales has been challenged over Prince Andrew and the Epstein scandal as it continues to cast a shadow over the royal family. Prince William was questioned by a reporter during a visit to Saudi Arabia but did not respond. It comes after Buckingham Palace confirmed the King stands ready to support police if asked. A woman described by prosecutors as a skilled butcher has been found guilty of murdering her partner and burying her remains. Isabella Zabloka went missing in 2010 after her body was discovered last year in Derby. That's after the killer told police where to find it. And 18-year-olds will soon be allowed to drive trains. The government's lowering the minimum age to tackle a looming driver shortage, with a quarter of drivers set to retire by 2030. The change is coming into force from 30th of June. Those are the latest headlines. A full roundup at 4.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Hello, good afternoon to you. I'm here with your GB News weather update coming to you from the Met Office. Lots more cloud, lots more rain to come as we go through the next couple of days. There are signs of something a bit drier for Saturday. More on that in a second. For the time being, we have low pressure to the west of us. It's this bit that's been driving a front in from the southwest. So we've seen some, at times, quite heavy rain making its way in. Further north and east, there's been a fair bit of wet weather across parts of Scotland and northern England as well. And there's more of that to come as we go through this evening and overnight. Increasingly seeing that rain turning to snow over higher ground as well. Elsewhere, yes, there will be some drier breaks, but it's generally staying quite cloudy, and there will be some further rain at times. But because of the rather unsettled weather, well, temperatures not dropping a huge amount. Mid-single figures in the north, some places staying in double digits towards the south. So a relatively mild start today for many of us, but actually across a fairly large swathe of Scotland, there's still going to be quite a bit of hill snow around first thing tomorrow morning, and it is a wet start across much of Scotland. Some of the rain could be quite heavy, and we could see some impacts, some flooding, some travel disruption. Also a wet start across much of Northern Ireland, and to be honest, across much of England and Wales. The further south you are, the more intermittent the rain's going to be. So not necessarily totally persistent, just some outbreaks of rain, but nonetheless, most of us will have a fair amount of wet weather through the morning. Staying wet across northern parts. In the south, something a little bit drier and brighter coming in. Some parts of the southwest could see some glimmers of sunshine before more rain pushes into Cornwall later on. Temperatures will be similar to today, really, so highs of around 13 or 14 Celsius towards the south, mid to high single figures further north, and feeling less pleasant because of the persistent rain that's just going to continue. Like I said, we do have some rain fringing some southern counties as we go through tomorrow evening, but across some central parts of England and Wales, some bright, fine weather. More rain to come as we go towards the end of the week, but at the moment, Saturday looks like it's going to be the driest day for quite a while. Bye-bye.
Thank you to our global community for watching and listening to GB News. We're not only the #1 news channel in Britain, we're chosen by you around the world.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. On the A9 at Killycranky, southbound traffic is facing restrictions due to a reported hazard, which is compelling drivers to proceed with increased caution. Meanwhile, in West Sussex, motorists should brace for congestion on the A27 westbound corridor stretching between the A285 at Chichester and the A259 at Chichester East, resulting in approximate 10-minute delays. On the railways, ongoing disruptions are seriously affecting the Gatwick Express network, while Great Northern services are encountering significant operational issues on the route between Hertford North and Stevenage. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome back. Your time is 3:36. With me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, is immigration killing our NHS? Well, immigration now accounts for almost 1 in 10 of all new patients registering with GPs in the United Kingdom. Can you believe this? More than 752,000 new GP registrations last year alone, that's just in 1 year, were flagged as people whose previous addresses were outside of the UK and spent more than 3 months abroad. Now, as I wait for my guest to come, I want to run you through some of these numbers. They're simply incredible. Now, this is an FOI request carried out by our friends at the Centre for Migration Control, Rob Bates. And it shows us that there were 752,730 Type 4 registrations last year. Type 4 is somebody who was born abroad or who has been abroad for more than 3 months, come into the United Kingdom. And when they land in the United Kingdom, they'd register with the GP. Now, 752,000 is more than the population of Liverpool, of Bradford, of Sheffield, of Leicester and of Newcastle. 1 in 10 of all patients registering last year were born overseas or returning from abroad. Now, when you take out the fact that around about 16% could be Brits who are coming home after working or living abroad for some time, it still equates to over 630,000 new patients in 1 year alone. Ever wondered why you can't get a GP appointment? Well, perhaps immigration has something to do with it. It's a reasonable question. The entire system is about supply and demand. If demand outstrips supply of GP appointments, of hospital appointments, then you have to go on a waiting list. If waiting lists are increasing, is that being caused by immigration? Why is it that no parliamentarian wants to have these conversations? Why is it that we're not allowed to ask the question, are basically open borders meaning that we have to wait longer for our hospital and GP appointments? Are we not allowed to have the conversation if people are born in Britain and pay their taxes, or if they have been in Britain for years and pay their taxes and contribute, should they be at the front of the queue? Is it right that somebody coming from overseas gets the same NHS access straight away? Can we even have the conversation that uncontrolled immigration might be damaging our NHS because of their lack of ability to control our borders? Now, I think that is a conversation worth having. I think that's precisely the kind of thing we should be talking about in this country. But instead, we're told, perhaps, for example, by that guy there, Sir Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, who a short while ago was telling a community centre that the politics of divide, grievance of Reform UK, we're not allowed to do that. That will tear our country apart, he said. Darren Jones, government minister earlier on, spokesperson for the Prime Minister, he said we have a choice to make. A modern, diverse, that word again, a modern, diverse Britain led by the Labour Party, the sort of thing you can see going on there at that NHS ward, or a dark, divisive Britain under Reform UK. Surely, though, we're allowed to have a conversation about the numbers of people coming into the country, the demands that places on the NHS, the demands that places on British taxpayers, without fear of being called racist or far right or divisive or having a grievance. This should be the kind of conversation we're allowed to have, and it shouldn't be chastised by the politicians who would rather bury their head in the sands. Now, an NHS spokesperson has told GB News this. This data does not state a person's nationality and includes people staying in England temporarily for 3 months. The NHS is legally required to provide healthcare services to asylum seekers and migrants, which are free at the point of use. Meanwhile, a government spokesman said that such a comparison with the ONS figures would be flawed because the registration data sets cannot be used to judge nationality or immigration status. Now, the whole point of this conversation is that time and time again on this channel, when we do these data sets, it's from freedom of information requests because the government doesn't like to make information available that might upset the apple cart. We have to go and dig it up. And when we dig it up and we present to the government, they say, oh, we don't recognise this data. So give us the data. Give us the actual data. Tell Britain the truth. If we know the truth, we can make informed decisions, and perhaps voters can decide whether it's a good use of their taxpayers' money or not to keep shoveling money into the NHS while people from abroad can simply waltz into the country and get to use it for free. Now it's time now for a brand new Great British giveaway and your chance to get summer sorted with a luxury £10,000 holiday for two. And that's not all, as we're also going to give you £30,000 in tax-free moolah. What's not to like? And here's Hayley Sparks with all of the details.
This year, the adventure of a lifetime could be on us.
Courtesy of Riviera Travel, there's a terrific £10,000 holiday for two to be won.
You could be here exploring the magic of Egypt on a Nile River cruise.
Or choose from over 30 worldwide destinations like Thailand, South Africa, New Zealand or even Sri Lanka. And because they have over 40 years experience with handcrafted tours,
you'll be safe in the knowledge that every step of the journey will be planned with you in mind.
We'll also boost your bank account with a fabulous £30,000 in tax-free cash, which you'll be able to spend however you like this year.
So what are you waiting for?
For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB19 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. The winner may be contacted live after all entry routes have closed. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good. Before the break, I was asking the question, is uncontrolled immigration killing the NHS? Well, let's bring in my guest now. It's the former Health Minister, and that's Lord Bethell. Lord Bethell, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have your company. So, yeah, the new data out today, 752,000 Type 4 registrations in 1 year alone. That's more people than live in Liverpool. I put it to you, if we don't get a control of our borders, we've got no hope of saving our NHS.
Well, yes, it's huge pressure. So we talk about lots of more money going into the NHS, but it's being hit by two demographic booms. One is the ageing population. That means that older people are necessarily sicker. And it's a growing population. We have more immigration, and a lot of those people who come to Britain are young and they have kids. And younger people don't go to hospital so much, but having children does come at a bit of a cost. And that's why one of the principal reasons why we're seeing registrations go up. But don't forget, we do now have an immigration health surcharge on top of normal taxes of £1,035 a year, typically. And we do have an immigration skills charge. So it's not a completely raw cost. And also don't forget that a third of doctors and 1 in 5 of those working in the NHS, a colossal 335,000 people, are themselves recent immigrants. So the idea that we would be in better shape without migration isn't quite right on its own.
Lord Bethell, it's also fair to say that there are a great number of people coming to the country who don't pay anything in. Look at the number of people born overseas on universal credit. They're not paying the health surcharge. And so there clearly is a strain place. And I wonder if people that get in touch with me all the time here, my father couldn't get a GP appointment all day last week. He's 87. He couldn't get heart medication. He had to go to the GP in person. He said it was a ghost town in there. There's nobody there. There's nobody answering phones. People can't get GP appointments. Is it not a fair thing to say, are British people not being able to get to appointments because there are too many people coming in overseas who are simply placing a strain on an already buckling service?
Well, the spotlight I put on two things. One is we're just not planning for this. We're not being honest with ourselves and saying 1 million people have come in the last 2 years. We should therefore increase capacity. I think politically we're giving the impression that a lot more money is going into the NHS, and that money will necessarily improve the quality of the NHS, whereas in fact it's really going to meet the capacity of an ageing and growing population. And secondly, for your father, access is really poor at primary care at the moment. We've got a ton of problems. We've got diminishing GP resources. We've got people don't really want to work in primary care anymore. We've got increased demand. You're right, people just can't get to see their GPs. So we do need to change the way in which we do medicine.
OK, thank you for your time and your learned opinions. That's the former Health Minister, Lord Bethell. Thanks for joining us today on GB News. Appreciate it. Now, coming up next, critics warn that Britain's broken asylum system is creating a conveyor belt to a life on benefits. This is GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Nana Queer, weekends from 3 p.m.
They really are helping people to feel fuller for longer, and that really is the mechanism of the weight loss jab, is that it's making you feel very satiated. It's really slowing down your digestive function, so your body's actually taking a lot longer to break down the food that you have eaten, and therefore people are eating a lot smaller portions, sometimes skipping meals altogether, which is causing some other concerns, but it is resulting in then some really dramatic weight loss results.
Now, of course, for some people, this is great because there are some people who are morbidly obese and all the sort of comorbidities that come with that. So, you know, diabetes, you know, heart disease, all those other things. These tablets or these injections are helping people to avoid those. But what are the costs that it comes with?
Yeah, I think this is what's really important to talk about, the fact that we do know that there are other comorbidities when people are living in larger bodies, but actually when it comes to using any medication, we've got to use it as a tool and not as it's the only thing we do and we carry on regardless. With these weight loss medications, the side effects that we're seeing and the side effects that are continuing to be listed become more and more concerning. So there are fairly sort of everyday, sometimes too often normalised side effects such as nausea, reflux, gastritis, diarrhea, constipation. There is way too much normalisation around those side effects happening.
And of course, reflux can be quite dangerous because of esophageal cancers.
Absolutely.
And also rotting of teeth.
Yes.
And also affecting the vocal cords, and that sort of thing can lead to certain cancers, can't it?
Yeah, absolutely. All these side effects are the body trying to let us know that it's struggling and it's not doing as well as it would like to do. But we've also got other more concerning side effects such as pancreatitis, gallstones. We're seeing a rise in gallbladder removal surgery, potentially some issues with the kidneys if dehydration becomes an issue as well.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Time is 3:49. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now then, Britain's broken asylum system is creating a conveyor belt to a lifetime on benefits. Critics have warned today. It comes as new figures revealed that despite pledges of a crackdown by ministers, the number of migrants and refugees claiming universal credit has more than doubled since 2022. And I put it to you, that is simply unsustainable. And I'm joined in the studio by the media campaign manager at the Taxpayers Alliance, William Yarwood. William, we've heard today from our Prime Minister saying there's a choice. There is a choice. A modern, diverse Britain, led by Britain, or we have a divided country under Reform UK. The modern, diverse Britain seems to be quite expensive for British taxpayers.
Yeah, indeed. And also, I'm going to just quickly say, it's funny how Keir Starmer thinks he's going to get away with that, as if that's going to win him back any votes and any support from fellow Labour voters. But yes, to this story specifically, there was over 124,000 claimants with refugee status claiming universal credit, which is averaging just about £1,000 a month, which, to put some context for you, I like to put things into context. That actually accounts for so if you just take it for a month, £1,000 is about 124 million a month spent. OK, that's the average lifetime taxes of around 100 households. You expand that to a year, Martin, that's about £1.5 billion, and that's almost 1,200 households' entire lifetime taxes gone just to pay this bill. And as you said earlier, is this even remotely sustainable? I don't think it is.
£1.5 billion, I should remind viewers, was the entire winter fuel allowance cost 3 times.
Yeah.
The inheritance tax hike on farmers.
100%.
And politics, I keep saying time and time again, is about choices. There's a choice to tax farmers. There was a choice to tax pensioners. They were reversed and it went down like a cup of cold sick. Underpinning it all is this huge universal credit bill. Trouble is, William, every time there's this slightest whiff of trying to clamp down on these costs, Labour backbenchers won't allow it.
Yeah, because Labour backbenchers were elected to do one thing and one thing only, which in reality is just increase spending, especially on welfare. I mean, if you want to talk about welfare more broadly, you look at the way in which they dealt with the welfare bill, which was going to cut about £5 billion off, and they didn't actually manage to do it.
William, I would have to cut you short there. We've got some breaking news just coming in. It's this. The verdict has come through for a trial over the rape of a 12-year-old girl in Nunaton. And GB News' Home and Security Editor, Mark White, has the details from Warwick Crown Court. Mark White, welcome to the show. An incredibly harrowing case. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, this is a very distressing case. A young girl, 12 years old, raped in a secluded area of Nunaton in North Warwickshire in July of last year. And today, an Afghan asylum seeker, we can confirm that he came on a small boat to the UK in March of last year and committed this offence just 4 months later. He has been found guilty on multiple charges of the abduction of this 12-year-old girl, of multiple counts of rape, of sexual assault, and also of taking indecent images of a child. Now, this was the 22nd of July last year. It was initially an incident that unfolded near a play area in a park in Nunaton when this young asylum seeker, 23 years old, Ahmed Mulakil, was in the park with a fellow asylum seeker, Mohammed Kabir, when they came into contact with this 12-year-old girl. And we heard evidence throughout the course of this 10-day trial that Mulakil had then taken this 12-year-old off to a remote cul-de-sac, nearby, near the park where this incident took place. At that point, this is when the rapes occurred in that cul-de-sac area. Now, this other asylum seeker, Mohammed Kabir, stood in the dock charged with a number of offences alongside Ahmed Mulakil, but he was found not guilty. So Mohammed Kabir was found not guilty of attempted child abduction, also of intentional strangulation and of attempted abduction with a view to carrying out a sexual offence. Having deliberated for some 7 hours and 39 minutes, the jury decided that Mohammed Kabir was not guilty. But as I say, Ahmed Mulakil found guilty of 2 counts of rape, 2 counts of sexual assault, of child abduction, and also of that additional charge of taking indecent images of a child. He has been remanded back into custody, Martin. He's been placed on the child offenders, sex offenders register, and he will appear back in court at a still to be determined date for sentencing.
Thank you, Mark White. An incredibly alarming story, and of course the details will come out as his defence in the fullness of time. Mark White, of course, will be coming back to you no doubt in a short while time at the top of the hour for full details on this breaking news story there. Just to repeat that, if you joined us, the verdict has now come in for a trial of the rape of 12-year-old girl in Nunaton. The verdict has come through. It's a very, very harrowing story, one which captured the public imagination, and there was a decision taken by the judge in that case not to release the immigration status of the defendant, who's now been proved guilty, I guess because it might have been divisive. Well, what's divisive, I think, is these cases happening time and time again. We're being told by the Prime Minister today we have 2 choices: the politics of divide, a modern diverse Britain led by the Labour Party, or the darkness of a future reform government. How is this modern diverse Britain working out for you guys watching this show today? How is this modern diverse Britain working out for that 12-year-old girl and her family? How is that modern diverse Britain working out for the children left behind of Rhiannon White, who was killed in an asylum house? So, astonishing state of affairs. We'll have full details on that story At the top of the hour, this is GB News with Britain's #1 news channel.
Thank you, Britain, for making GB News Radio such a huge success. Whether you're in the car, on the go, or listening at home, thank you for choosing us as your radio station.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. On the M8, traffic is restricted westbound between Junction 3A and Junction 4 after debris was reported in the carriageway. In West Sussex, the A27 westbound is slow between the A285 at Chichester and the A259 at Chichester East, with delays expected until after 5 this evening. In Devon, the A38 eastbound has one lane closed between the A382 and the A380 due to an abandoned vehicle. And on the trains, there is disruption across the Gatwick Express network and Great Northern services between Hertford North and Stevenage. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
You could win cash and the ultimate holiday in our 2-part Great British Giveaway. Thanks to Riviera Travel, you could be jetting off on a £10,000 dream holiday for 2 people. With flights, transfers and luxury accommodation included, you'll get to choose the kind of holiday you want. Plus, we're going to give you £30,000 in tax-free cash.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB19, PO Box 8690, Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Very, very good afternoon to you. It's 4 p.m. and welcome to the Martin Daubney Show here on GB News, broadcasting live across the UK, or the very latest news, debate and analysis all the way through until 6 p.m. Here's what's coming up on today's show. Breaking news in these past few moments. The Afghan small boats migrant Ahmed Mulaki has been found guilty of abducting and repeatedly raping a 12-year-old girl in the Warwickshire town of Nunaton. And we'll be joining GB News' Home and Security editor Mark White live from outside Warwick Crown Court.
Walk away from the mandate I was given to change this country. I will never walk away from the people that I'm charged with fighting for. And I will never walk away from the country that I love.
Keir Starmer says he will never walk away, but might he be shoved out the way? Is this the end of the Keir show? The Prime Minister today makes his first appearance since those repeated resignation calls, saying he will fight against what he calls the divisive politics of reform, the politics of grievance. And early today, Andy Burnham gave Keir Starmer his support.
Yes, he has my support. The government has my support. It is absolutely right that people give the government stability in this moment.
But lest we forget, Sir Keir Starmer gave similar support and full confidence to Morgan McSweeney right before he got the chop.
Does he have the same full confidence in Morgan McSweeney that he had in Peter Mandelson?
Prime Minister. McSweeney is an essential part of my team. He helped me change the Labour Party and win an election.
Defiant Sir Keir Starmer today has rolled up his sleeves and said he won't walk away. But let's be truthful, is he actually a dead man walking, and when might his enemies make their move? And is the Labour Party about to take the historically unprecedented decision to drop His Majesty from the title HM government and rebrand it as the UK government? Monarchists and traditionalists are slamming the woke rebrand as a gross affront to the crown. Are we lurching towards a socialist republic whose motto is "The King is dead, long live the Keir"? And ever wondered why you can't get a GP appointment? Well, astonishing new data published today shows a record 752,000 immigrants registered with GPs in the country last year. Now, that's as many patients in 1 year alone as the entire population of Liverpool, of Bradford, of Sheffield, of Leicester, or of Newcastle. And with 1 in 10 of all new patients on the NHS born overseas, is our NHS being killed by their uncontrolled immigration? Welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have your company. Earlier on today, Sir Keir Starmer at a community centre with that all familiar look now. The tie was off, the top button was undone, the sleeves were rolled up. A Prime Minister who means business, but is the country listening? We were given two choices today by the Prime Minister, who narrowly avoided being wiped out altogether yesterday. The politics of divide, 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 of grievance, grievance, grievance that will tear our country apart. Not the politics of the Labour Party, who seems to be doing a good job of tearing itself apart, but the politics of Reform UK. Or there's another choice, the divisive, inclusive, modern politics led by the Labour Party. How's that diverse Britain working out for you? Today we just learned a 12-year-old girl been repeatedly raped by an Afghan asylum seeker. How is this country meant to be drawn together by a Prime Minister who can't even unite his own party? Get in touch, gbnews.com/your say is the way to do so. You can scan the QR code on your screens right now. But without further ado, here's your headlines with Sam Francis.
Very good afternoon to you. Just after 4 o'clock, the top story this hour. Sir Keir Starmer has said he will never walk away from the country he loves and vowed that he won't stop fighting for working people. The Prime Minister was speaking to members of the public at a cost of living event in Hertfordshire earlier, just a day after his position came under pressure.
Never walk away from the mandate I was given to change this country. I will never walk away from the people that I'm charged with fighting for. And I will never walk away from the country that I love.
Well, Andy Burnham has said he does support the Prime Minister, calling for unity within the Labour Party as pressure continues to mount on Sir Keir Starmer. The Mayor of Greater Manchester said that he has spoken directly to Sir Keir now, urging a stronger sense of teamwork and for internal briefings to be dialed down as the party faces intense scrutiny.
Yes, he has my support. The government has my support. It is absolutely right that people give the government stability in this moment. I don't agree with you that the government hasn't done anything to support, as you say, working class Britain. I reference things that we are doing with the government support in Greater Manchester.
Earlier, the Prime Minister thanked his strong and united cabinet for backing him, telling a Crunch meeting he will not walk away. Senior figures have rallied behind the Prime Minister, including the First Minister of Wales, who says he is an honourable man and is committed to public service. The Prime Minister has also insisted the Labour Party remains united behind the Scottish Labour leader Anna Sarwar, despite him earlier calling for Sir Keir Starmer to resign. That comes, though, as the Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch has claimed some Labour MPs have indicated they would back a vote of no confidence and says it's only a matter of time before Sir Keir's position is tested.
It is still a matter of when, not if, the Prime Minister goes, because we are still waiting for the release of those documents which he committed to releasing last week. We still haven't seen the details of how he made this disastrous appointment. And instead, what we're hearing is that the Cabinet Office is telling ministers not to release their text messages with Peter Mandelson. That's completely wrong.
In the last few minutes, we've heard that an Afghan asylum seeker has been found guilty of abducting and raping a 12-year-old girl in Nunaton. Ahmad Malakil admitted one count of rape and was unanimously convicted of another count of rape, abducting and taking indecent video. The court heard that the 23-year-old took the child to a quiet cul-de-sac where police say she was a victim of extremely horrific sexual offences. Co-defendant, the 24-year-old Mohammed Kabir, was found not guilty of all charges. And just a breaking update to bring you from northwest London. We're hearing reports of two boys, one aged 12, the other 13, who have been victims of a stabbing at a school in Brent. As I say, that in northwest London. Officers are now searching for a teenage suspect. Police called to the scene at Highbury High School just before 1 o'clock this afternoon to report that the 13-year-old and 12-year-old had been stabbed. They have both been taken to hospital by the London Ambulance Service. Officers saying they have identified a subject, they believe a teenage boy, and are now urgently hunting for him. And the Prince of Wales has been challenged over Andrew Mountbatten Windsor as the Jeffrey Epstein scandal continues to overshadow the royal family. Prince Andrew was questioned by a reporter during his first high-profile trip to Saudi Arabia, but he didn't respond as he walked away. Ahead of that visit, Kensington Palace said the Prince and Princess of Wales were deeply concerned by the continued revelations, adding that their thoughts remain with the victims. Those are the latest headlines for now. I'll be back with you in half an hour.
Thank you, Sam. Let's break now. Repeat that breaking news, beginning with that two boys aged just 12 and 13 are in hospital after a double stabbing at a North London school. A teenage suspect is still on the run as police have now flooded the area, and they're reassuring worried parents and pupils, and they're stepping up the manhunt for whoever is responsible. And we have a statement to read out for you from the Detective Chief Superintendent Luke Williams, who leads policing in northwest London, has said this: "We recognise that this incident will cause considerable concern within the community, and we want to reassure local students, parents and local residents that we have deployed significant resources to the area and are doing everything we can to locate the suspect." They continue, "Our thoughts are with the injured boys, and I want to thank the paramedics and doctors who are providing them both with care." Of course, we'll have more on that breaking news story as it comes to us throughout the rest of the show. Now, moving on. Keir Starmer today has insisted that he will never walk away from the mandate he was given, and let's take a listen.
Well, what's happened over the last few days is that we've pulled together as a party and been absolutely crystal clear about the fight we need to have. And that's the fight on behalf of all the people in this country who don't get the respect, the dignity and the chance that they deserve in life. That is the fight that we are in. That's who we're fighting for. I'm their Prime Minister and this is their government. And what the last few days has shown is that that is absolutely the focus of this government. And we need to change in the sense of being out there, making that argument over and over again. Not talking internally to ourselves, which caused chaos under the last government, talking to the country and making it absolutely clear we're elected on a mandate for change, a 5-year mandate. It is our duty to deliver on that mandate.
It sounds like this political near-death experience has really fired you up.
I'm absolutely clear about what I stand for, who I'm standing for, and what I'm fighting for. And we are in a perilous world internationally, and we have to stand tall on the international stage. That has implications back in this country. But we also need to remember and never forget that whatever the political discussions in Westminster, for most people across the country in this community centre, it's the cost of living, making ends meet, whether they can get on in life, whether their public services are working. That's what matters most. And I'm absolutely up for that fight, and I'm not walking away from that fight.
Are you going to patch things up with Anas Sarwar? He tried to take you out yesterday. You want him to be First Minister of Scotland. It's a mess, isn't it?
Well, I've got a huge respect for Anas Sarwar. Obviously, he made his views known yesterday. But I want to be really clear that I'm 100% supportive of Anas Sarwar to be the First Minister in Scotland. He'd be an incredible First Minister, and I support him.
You can forgive and forget what happened.
I support him 100% without reservation.
Will you lead the Labour Party into the next general election?
Yes, I will. I had a 5-year mandate to deliver the change. I intend to get on with what I was elected to do, which is deliver that change. I'm really pleased that we've got a united cabinet behind me in that fight. We need to concentrate on bringing about that change, because for millions of people who are being held back by this system that we're in, they need us to be fighting for them, and that is what we're doing.
Final question. Your Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, seems to do what he wants. He's published these texts between him and Lord Mandelson that include criticism of your government. Are you tempted to sack him?
Well, the issue of text messages and all information that's being gathered as a result of the humble petition, humble address last week, that needs to be a managed process, both in government and obviously there's a police element to it. So we need to do it in that managed way so that the right information is released. We need to be totally transparent. That's what Parliament wants.
Have you told him to wind his neck in? Because it wasn't managed, was it? He just acted unilaterally.
Well, I do think that we all need to ensure that we're all acting together in this, because all the information needs to be pulled together. We owe it to Parliament to be totally transparent about it. We need to liaise with Parliament and with the police to make sure we get the process right.
And you've got an economic strategy, to be clear, because he was suggesting in the text that there wasn't one.
Let me be very clear about the economy under Rachel Reeves, our Chancellor, because she is turning the economy around. And what we now see is 6 interest rate cuts in a row. That is the fastest cut in interest rates since the 2008 crash. Significant achievement because of the stability that she has brought. We've got inflation predicted to come down to target, hugely important for the economy, and business confidence is turning a corner. All of the indications are the same. Now we have to nurture that, we have to make sure that this is for real and it's felt in people's pockets, but it's a tribute to the hard work of Rachel Reeves as the Chancellor that we're now in that position where the economy is beginning to show those signs of turning in the way we need for the country.
Prime Minister, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, there we go. That's the Prime Minister. Seemingly nothing to see here. Nothing happened yesterday. Nothing at all. I'm joined in the studio by GBNews political editor Chris Hope and also the constitutional experts and the former government minister, Sir Michael Ellis. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Sometimes, Chris, I think myself and our viewers must look at the Prime Minister Keir Starmer and think there's a parallel universe here. We've slipped through some time wormhole continuum where the coup against him yesterday didn't happen. He said, I have huge respect for Anas Sarwar. I unreservedly want him to be the First Minister of Scotland, the guy who yesterday called for Sir Keir Starmer to resign. Yes, I will be the leader at the next general election, said the Prime Minister, who almost wasn't the leader last night. And we must unite and pull together. We need to change and not turn upon ourselves, says the Prime Minister, who can't keep his own party united. Chris Hope, he lives in a parallel universe.
What else could he say? I mean, in his defence, what else could he say? He said that he supports Anas Sarwar to be First Minister without reservation. I mean, a charitable explanation of what happened yesterday could be that Anas Sarwar in Scotland felt that he was a drag anchor on his own poll ratings. He's like 3 months until polling day. He's done all he can. He's cut loose the PM.
I could only get elected by throwing Keir Starmer in the nearest lot.
Well, I haven't talked to Anas Sarwar. I was trying to analyse what was his thinking yesterday. I will lead the party into the next election, he said then. He told me the same at the G20 in November in South Africa. What that means is he'll be Prime Minister until 2034. You're aware of this, because if you fight the next election, you then have to commit then to serving a full second term as well. So he is committing there to 10 years of Starmer, despite the incoming coming in. And there's a lot of pressure on him already. Yes, they all agree with him around the cabinet table, because I think no one felt they could go over the top, and there's no obvious candidate to replace him. For reasons known, Angela Rayner broke the ministerial code, and 5 months ago, why should she be PM? Ed Miliband rejected in 2015, doesn't want to be PM, he says today. Wes Streeting, too close to Peter Mandelson, not trusted by the backbenchers. I think there's no obvious candidate to replace him, and that's keeping him post. It's bought him time, and that time is all he's got, I suppose.
So, Michael,
all I can say is good grief. I mean, surviving till 2034, at this rate, Martin, he's going to be lucky to survive 34 days, never mind to the year 2034. The only reason why his party haven't moved against him significantly enough to actually remove him is because they're not quite ready. They want to get the by-election out of the way in Gorton in a couple of weeks' time, and they want to get the locals out of the way in May.
You blame him for those things?
That will be... Yes, so they can blame him for those things, and that's when they'll also be ready. They'll hope that Angela will be ready with her tax affairs sorted, Wes Streeting will be ready, and all the rest of it. It's nothing to do with him having the confidence of his cabinet. It's to do with them being ready to make a move at the right time for them against him. He says he won't walk away. Well, he may not walk away, he'll be thrown away by his own party. That's my prediction.
Martin, one thing he did say there, he did say he's a member of the most working-class cabinet in British history, and Labour is increasingly playing the class card. They're saying they are the party of working people. Michael Ellis, you don't be
Again,
nervous about that.
Gentlemen, again, there's a parallel universe. The working classes have abandoned the Labour Party totally, almost. They're the party of the middle management class, the metropolitan class, the working class.
Upper middle class. If you're going to be obsessed about class, as Labour is, he's upper middle class. You know, the reality of the matter is, it's what people don't care about what school people went to and all the rest of it. They want this country to be properly served, something that this government isn't doing.
Gentlemen, we've got some more breaking news I have to interject here, and it's this. Breaking news, a 15-year-old boy has been sentenced to a minimum of 13 years after murdering 12-year-old Leo Ross as he walked home from school in the Hall Green area of Birmingham. Leo was fatally stabbed in the stomach last January and tragically died in hospital. At 12 years old, he is believed to be the youngest victim of knife crime in the West Midlands. The defendant, who cannot be named for legal reasons, of course, was 14 at the time of the stabbing and was also sentenced today for violent attacks on 3 elderly women, causing serious injuries. And a warning, this story contains distressing content.
Leo Ross's life tragically ended on his walk home from school. The 12-year-old was fatally stabbed in the stomach in a random and unprovoked attack in the Hall Green area of Birmingham in January last year. Instead of fleeing, Leo's killer brazenly hung around to talk to police at the murder scene, falsely claiming he had stumbled across Leo lying dead beside the River Cole.
I seen this woman, she was walking down, so I told her to call you guys. Yeah, so I told her to call you guys. Then I went to get some help from different people, and that's all I know about it. He was laying there like that when I got here, and that's all I know about it.
Leo had no connection to his attacker, who was 14 at the time.
The boy responsible has approached Leo and has stabbed him once to the stomach, caused him a catastrophic injury which he couldn't survive. After doing so, he's then discarded the knife that was used. He's thrown it into a river, which is near to the scene where Leo was stabbed, and he's then gone and alerted another person to the attack as if he's just come across it himself, so pretending that he was just an innocent member of the public. And that seems to be his pattern of behaviour, is that he likes to watch the chaos unfold of his own actions and enjoys seeing sort of the consequences of what he's done.
The teenage killer, riding a bike, was also found to have previously hunted down and attacked elderly women in local parkland.
What it demonstrates is someone who has a need to carry out extreme acts of violence. Why he needs to do that, I don't know. Only he can answer that. There is nothing in his history which would suggest that he was capable of doing something of this level. That's not to say he had a perfect childhood. Yes, there were issues there, but nothing which would obviously demonstrate that he was such a danger to the public. This was unprecedented, a completely shocking incident, as were all of the connected incidents. To see this sort of chaos evolve over the 3 days, tragically culminating in Leo's death.
A young life cut short by knife crime. Leo was described by his family as an amazing, sweet and kind-hearted boy who was loved by all that knew him. Flowers left at the scene of the stabbing included similar messages that Leo was loved by many people and how much he is missed. Anna Riley, GB News.
You know, it's a just genuinely heartbreaking case. Leo Ross, 12, the youngest ever victim of knife crime in Britain. Sir Michael Ellis, of course, your former Attorney General. This will reignite an entire conversation again about identifying the 15-year-old perpetrator. We understand he's a minor, but surely there's a threshold for public interest. Leah Ross being the youngest ever victim of... Surely there's a public interest case to identify the assailant.
Well, Martin, in all of these dreadful cases, and this one is particularly horrific, there are always thresholds. Judges who hear these sorts of cases, High Court judges, red judges as they're called by the legal community, who will hear a murder case, can make a ruling that allows the name to be released to the press. And so in each individual case, a judge can do that, and he or she will weigh up the merits and hear representation sometimes from the press about doing that. So the power does exist, but sometimes judges don't exercise that power and they don't release the name. And we don't know the full arguments in this particular case. One of the things that I think we would do a service to mention is also this problem that we currently have with this government and its early prisoner release scheme. Because what I think really frustrates people, whenever they hear about cases, is that prisoners are not serving the full sentence that they have been awarded. And in fact, in many cases, they're now being released even well before the halfway mark. There was a dreadful case where an individual received an 18-year sentence of imprisonment who looks like he's being released less than 7 years into that sentence. So, look, I think that 7 or 8 years, I think these sorts of issues are issues that we really have to cross. There hasn't been enough investment in the police service. There hasn't been enough investment in the prison service. And I think this government's running out of excuses.
I think you're right. And actually the case of Carl Beach, who was released early. Yeah. So Harvey Proctor, the former Conservative MP, who was caught in that fake VIP paedophile scandal, we're hoping to get him on the show later on. So Michael, Chris, thank you very much. A huge amount of breaking news we have to get through, and still to come, we'll be outside Warwick Crown Court, where an Afghan small boats migrant has been found guilty a short while ago of abducting and repeatedly raping a 12-year-old girl. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too.
From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back, and let's return now to that breaking news story. Two boys aged 12 and 13 years old have been stabbed at a school in Brent, northwest London, and police officers are searching for a teenage suspect, the Metropolitan Police have said. And we have a statement now that's been released by the Kingsbury High School where the stabbing took place, and it says the serious incident is now under control. And we want to make you aware that there has been a serious incident at Kingsbury High School today. We're working closely with the relevant authorities and following all necessary procedures. The situation is now under control, and we have already spoken directly with the parents and carers of the students involved. And we understand that this will be concerning. At present, it is not possible to enter or leave the school site while the response continues, and we will provide further updates as soon as we're able to share confirmed information. A spokesperson for the London Ambulance Service has confirmed the extent of their injuries remains unclear at this time. And they said, we were called at 12:41 p.m. today to reports of a stabbing at Bacon Lane, London Northwest 9. And we sent resources to the scene, including ambulance crews, incident response officers, an advanced paramedic, a paramedic from our tactical response unit, and a clinical team manager. We also dispatched a trauma team and a car from London's Air Ambulance, and we treated 2 patients in total. We took 1 patient to hospital and the other as a priority to a major trauma centre. And moving on to more traumatic news, I'm afraid, and the verdict has come through for a trial over the rape of a 12-year-old girl in Nunaton. And GB News' Homeland Security editor Mark White has all the details from Warwick Crown Court. Mark White, what a day it's been already for harrowing breaking news, and this particular case, one that's absolutely appalled the nation, and there's been a verdict today. Tell us more.
Yeah, deeply distressing case of a 12-year-old girl who was abducted, raped, and sexually assaulted in a secluded area in the town of Nunaton in Warwickshire. The attacker found guilty today, an asylum seeker from Afghanistan, 23-year-old Ahmad Mulakil, an illegal immigrant who arrived here on a small boat in March last year. Just 4 months later, he went on to commit these horrific offences. It was the 22nd of July at a local play park in Nunaton, where this 12-year-old girl was. Mulakil was there alongside another Afghan asylum seeker, Mohammed Kabir, and were engaged in conversation with this 12-year-old. At that point, later on, we're told in the evening, around about 8 o'clock, this girl was abducted by Mulakil, taken to a secluded cul-de-sac, and was repeatedly raped, sexually assaulted, and also indecent images were taken of this child at that point as well. Now, I mentioned that other Afghan migrant, Mohammed Kabir. The jury today found him not guilty of the 3 charges that he faced. He'd faced a charge of attempted child abduction, with intent to commit a sexual act against a child, and also an act of intentional strangulation. The jury, having deliberated for some 7 hours and 39 minutes, found this second Afghan migrant not guilty on all charges. But as I say, Ahmad Mulakil was found guilty of 2 counts of rape, 2 counts of sexual assault involving this child, also of abducting this 12-year-old girl and taking those indecent images. He has been remanded back into custody. He's been placed on the child or the sex offenders register. He will come back here to Warwick Crown Court at a date still to be determined for sentencing, Martin.
OK, thank you very much, Mark White. Look, no quite to say to that. Just one of those cases that's just absolutely, utterly heartbreaking. 12-year-old girl whose life, no doubt, will never be the same again after what happened to her repeatedly at the hands of an asylum seeker from Afghanistan in Nunaton. Moments ago, Prince William... Oh, God. Sorry. Moments ago, Prince William was greeted by the governor of Medina in Alua in Saudi Arabia. Yeah, that's Prince William there arriving, of course, day 2 of his 3-day trip, diplomatic and trade trip to Saudi Arabia. That's a moments ago footage there of Prince William being greeted by the governor of Medina in Alua in Saudi Arabia. It's the prince there. Earlier on played football with some girls because, you know, girls are allowed to play football in Saudi Arabia now. And was what's being portrayed as a human rights breakthrough. Apologies there for my outburst a moment ago, but, you know, it's very, very hard to come to terms with the fact that 12-year-old girls are being raped in this country by asylum seekers. I think you no doubt share my intense distress at cases like that. Let's get now to your latest news headlines, and here's Sam Francis.
Martin, thank you, and good afternoon to you. Just after 4:30, Sir Keir Starmer says he will never walk away from the country that he loves or from the mandate he was given.
Never walk away from the mandate I was given to change this country. I will never walk away from the people that I'm charged with fighting for. And I will never walk away from the country that I love.
Speaking this afternoon in Hertfordshire, the Prime Minister thanked his strong and united cabinet after renewed pressure on him. But the Tory leader Kemi Badenoch says it's still a matter of when, not if, he goes. Well, 2 boys, 12 and 13 years old, have been taken to hospital after reports of a stabbing at a secondary school in London. Met Police say another teenage boy has been identified as a suspect, and urgent searches are now underway to locate him. As we were just hearing, a 23-year-old Afghan asylum seeker has been found guilty of abducting and raping a 12-year-old girl in Nuneaton. Ahmad Malakil was unanimously convicted at Warwick Crown Court. His co-defendant, 24-year-old Mohammed Kabir, was found not guilty of all charges. And the Prince of Wales has been challenged over Prince Andrew as the Epstein scandal continues to cast a shadow over the royal family. Prince William was questioned by a reporter during a visit to Saudi Arabia but did not respond. It comes after Buckingham Palace confirmed the King stands ready to support police if asked. Those are the headlines. More from Martin after this quick break.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Hello, good afternoon to you. I'm here with your GB News weather update coming to you from the Met Office. Lots more cloud, lots more rain to come as we go through the next couple of days. There are signs of something a bit drier for Saturday. More on that in a second. For the time being, we have low pressure to the west of us. It's this bit that's been driving a front in from the southwest. So we've seen some, at times, quite heavy rain making its way in. Further north and east, there's been a fair bit of wet weather across parts of Scotland and northern England as well. And there's more of that to come as we go through this evening and overnight. Increasingly seeing that rain turning to snow over higher ground as well. Elsewhere, yes, there will be some drier breaks, but it's generally staying quite cloudy and there will be some further rain at times. But because of the rather unsettled weather, well, temperatures not dropping a huge amount. Mid-single figures in the north, some places staying in double digits towards the south. So a relatively mild start today for many of us, but actually across a fairly large swathe of Scotland, there's still going to be quite a bit of hill snow around first thing tomorrow morning, and it is a wet start across much of Scotland. Some of the rain could be quite heavy and we could see some impacts, some flooding, some travel disruption. Also a wet start across much of Northern Ireland and, to be honest, across much of England and Wales. The further south you are, the more intermittent the rain's going to be. So not necessarily totally persistent, just some outbreaks of rain, but nonetheless, most of us will have a fair amount of wet weather through the morning. Staying wet across northern parts. In the south, something a little bit drier and brighter coming in. Some parts of the southwest could see some glimmers of sunshine before more rain pushes into Cornwall later on. Temperatures will be similar to today, really, so highs of around 13 or 14 Celsius towards the south, mid to high single figures further north, and feeling less pleasant because of the persistent rain that's just going to continue. Like I said, we do have some rain fringing some southern counties as we go through tomorrow evening, but across some central parts of England and Wales, some bright, fine weather. More rain to come as we go towards the end of the week, but at the moment, Saturday looks like it's going to be the driest day for quite a while. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News each and every week.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Southbound on the A9 at Killiecrankie is restricted after a hazard on the carriageway. On the A4, 70 northbound at Nantgar, expect heavy congestion on the off-slip. In Tameside, the A628 westbound is slow between the A6024 and the A57, with around 10 minutes of delays. In Kent, the M20 has lane closures on the eastbound entry slip at Junction 9 after a vehicle left the carriageway. And on the trains, there is disruption across the Gatwick Express network and Great Northern services between Hertford North and Stevenage. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome back. Your time is 4:37. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, the fantasist who caused the VIP child abuse scandal has been freed from jail under the government's early release scheme. Carl Beach, of course, was jailed for 18 years in July 2019 after he falsely claimed to have been raped and abused by a group of high-profile politicians and public figures. The trouble is, he was a total fantasist and he ruined lives, one of which is my next guest. Let's now speak with the former Conservative MP and a victim of Carl Beach, Harvey Proctor. Harvey Proctor, it's a pleasure to have your company. I wanted to get your thoughts on the fact that Carl Beach, a fantasist who destroyed your life, who sent people to early graves without having their names cleared, has been released early from prison.
My first thoughts, because you've mentioned the word often, he was not a fantasist. He was a criminal liar. And he told untruths against quite a number of people. And they, of course, were his victims, including myself, Lord Britton, former Home Secretary, Field Marshal Lord Bramall, head of the Armed Forces, Sir Edward Heath, former Prime Minister, and others. But I'd like to think at the start of the many, many victims of Carl Beach, untold numbers. We can't put a figure on it. Of course, there were his mother, his former wife, his son, all those children that he took indecent pictures of in his family bathroom, and many, many others. So let us take some time to think of the plight of those victims that he put through.
It's gracious of you to say that, and of course that is absolutely the correct thing to do. Nevertheless, the VIP child abuse scandal that Carl Beach created, he just fabricated it from nowhere. It was a lie too delicious to be disbelieved by the media, wasn't it? They seemed to lap it up. They seemed to treat it as truth. And the fact of the matter is, Harvey Proctor, it destroyed your life. May I ask you how it impacted you at the time and how it does still?
Well, it is 10 years on, a long time on. The impact is still there, is still with me. And I said before that I think it cannot ever go away. I try to overcome it every day, but it is not an easy thing to do. Journalists at the time were pushed by the Metropolitan Police Service, who said that Carl Beech was credible and true, when he wasn't credible and he wasn't true. And the police were going around to the press saying, if only you know what we know, you'd accept that he was a true complainant. He wasn't anything of the sort. It took some time for me and others to speak out, stay truthful, and get the media eventually to cast doubt on the Metropolitan Police. I think you know that I threw a press conference in August 2015, and a very large number of the press went to that press conference, and sooner or later after that, people started having doubts, not just about Mr. Beech, but about the Metropolitan Police. But it took a long time. It took over a year. They had an investigation for over a year, and it wasn't until March of 2016 that the Metropolitan Police decided to end what was called Operation Midland. And that, of course, is coming up for nearly 10 years ago. But the strains and stresses of all of that remain and will not go away.
And Mr. Proctor, of course, one of those accused, you mentioned there, Lord Leon Britton, never got the opportunity to clear his name before he passed away. And those who loved him and knew him spoke about the fact that these terrible, false, fabricated, grotesque allegations perhaps hastened his demise, and that scar can never be healed through these grotesque lies.
And I said that in August 2015, that the Metropolitan Police had chased him into his grave. Quite outrageous. And of course, I feel very sorry for Lady Diana Britton and her family for all that they have gone through.
Harvey Proctor, one of the most shocking things about what is already an unfathomably shocking story for what you and everybody else who was falsely accused have been through, as that we found out that Carl Beech has been released early. Jailed for 18 years in 2019. It's only 2026, but he was released quietly, without you being told, without anybody else being told. How did it feel for you, and may I ask you, Harvey Proctor, to learn of this third hand?
Terrible, and to learn from the press and social media. Why? Because in law, and this needs looking at urgently, victims of those who commit perverting the course of justice are not the likes of me and Leon Britton and the rest. The victim in perverting the course of justice is the Crown. Therefore, the Ministry of Justice have got no duty to let me and the other victims, real victims, know what's happening. So I have not known anything about Carl Beech since his Newcastle trial in 2019. I think that those who are the target of perverting the course of justice should be regarded as victims like any other victim in a criminal matter.
Okay.
So
Harvey Proctor,
I'll be trying to change the law on this matter for the benefit of others.
Okay, thank you for joining us today, Harvey Proctor, and I commend you on your moral fortitude throughout all of this, and thank you for joining us today on the show. I appreciate your time. Now, a spokesperson for the MOJ has told GBNews this: Carl Beech's crimes were shocking and had far-reaching consequences, and our thoughts remain with all of those affected. Coming up next, some breaking news. Keir Starmer's former communications chief, Lord Matthew Doyle, has apologised for his past association with a paedophile counsellor and said he will not be taking the Labour whip. Astonishing breaking news on an already incredible day, and our man Chris Hope will have more shortly. This is GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain's Newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
Following 100-mile-an-hour winds, which knocked out power and left 28,000 customers across Cornwall without access to broadband services, that people are flocking to the phone box in Helford.
We're going to phone this phone box and see if anyone picks up. Now, the village of Helford, that 3-week storm, a lot of problems with connectivity, but the phone box we're calling now was a vital lifeline for so many in the area at the time. The phone is still ringing, and that's the beautiful...
Hello.
Hello there,
Hello.
you're live on GB News. Who is speaking?
So, say that again. Tony, hello.
Tony, do we reach you in Cornwall?
Hello. GB News, you say?
That's right. Hey, how's it going, Tony? Are you well?
Yeah, I'm doing good.
Great.
Do you live in Helford?
No, I don't live in Helford. I've been staying locally quite often.
And have you suffered from this broadband outage?
The whole phone call system down here has been, yes, we have done.
And when did you last use a phone box before today?
Before today, some time ago.
No.
I wasn't here, and where I was had mobile phone reception, whereas here, there is absolutely none.
Are you a fan of GB News? Because a lot of people staying connected to their communities, they've lost maybe their internet services. All they've got really is the telly and the phone box as well.
Yeah, the phone box here, when I first saw it, it all looked rather quaint, and I thought, oh, that's nice. And as I'm down here quite often, the amount I've seen this phone box used, even without the storms and the outages, people passing by with no phone signal at least can phone back and say they've had a problem with the ferry or they can't get to where they're going to be.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Your time is 4:49. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, residents in the Cheshire village of Adlington have been left furious by plans to uproot life as they know it to form what will be known as Adlington New Town. Proposals would see thousands of acres of greenbelt built over for 20,000 new homes. Now, there are currently 12 proposed sites for similar projects nationwide, but the people of Adlington say theirs makes no sense and would completely destroy their way of life. Our national reporter Sophie Reaper paid them a visit to find out more.
England's green and pleasant land. A beautiful sight, but for how much longer? Under current proposals, around 3,000 acres of this greenbelt land is set to be destroyed, with 20,000 houses in its place to form the renamed Adlington New Town.
We were totally blindsided by the proposal. We first heard it on the national news. There had been no consultation previously. It came as a shock to everybody. My initial reaction was, I think they must mean Adlington in Lancashire, because surely it's not here.
But the locals are fighting back. They say their village couldn't cope with what's being proposed and they'll do anything they can to stop it.
The infrastructure is very severely under capacity here because of the constraints of electricity, gas and water. It is only to cope with what is here now. It is not to allow 20,000 extra homes and the infrastructure needed for 20,000 homes. There is no proposed hospitals, schools, GP hubs, shops, car parks, entertainment centres, employment zones.
And the concerns don't stop there. Wildlife would lose habitats and face decimation. Pressure on roads and transport links would skyrocket. And several farms in the area would be lost forever. That includes Alex's. His land has been farmed by his family for generations.
It's really important that we protect the green belt and our farms, because when it's gone, it's lost forever. We all need to think about where our food comes from. We've got to put food security on the top of the agenda. We've all got to eat, haven't we? So to rely on imports with pressures in the world as they are at the moment just seems ridiculous, really.
With regular protests and backing from the local council and Labour MP, residents are hoping to have the plans completely scrapped. Speaking to GB News, the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government said no locations have been decided for the new towns, but making sure local people have a say and community engagement will be at the heart of our new towns programme. We are currently working to understand the impacts of potential new towns locations and have been clear our house building plans will not come at the expense of the environment. But with 11 other potential development sites across the country, these plans have national implications. Yet the residents of Adlington feel there's only one thing to blame.
I think if the finger of blame has to be pointed anywhere, it's towards corporate greed. Adlington is the only development on the list of 12 being put forward by one single landowner, and that all comes down to one company wanting to make money off destroying farmland, greenbelt and wildlife.
Sophie Reaper, GB News.
And our reporter Sophie Reaper will be with the residents of Adlington at their next protest on Sunday. Make sure you tune in for that. Now, we've got 3 breaking news stories in this next hour, and I want to go through them one by one. I think this is just a snapshot of where our country is. The first one is this. A 12-year-old girl in Nunaton has been repeatedly raped by an Afghan asylum seeker, aged 24, who came to the country illegally. He took photographs, compromising photographs of her as well. He's been sentenced to prison today. Second breaking news story we've got coming up. Leo Ross, 12-year-old boy, murdered in cold blood randomly by a boy aged 15. That 15-year-old boy who took police back to the dead body of Leo Ross, pretended he didn't do anything, it was nothing to do with him. He was sentenced to 13 years in prison today. Leo Ross will have the terrible, terrible fortune, as it were, of being known as Britain's youngest murder victim of knife crime. Another case, 2 boys stabbed in a playground in northwest London in Brent, 12 and 13. We were told earlier on today we've got 2 choices in Britain, a modern, diverse Britain led by the Labour Party, or a dark, divisive Britain under Reform UK. I want to ask you, how do you think this modern, diverse Britain is working out? How's it working out for us? Or is it about time we had a long, hard look in the mirror about the state of our nation? Stick with us. We're GB News, Britain's #1 news channel. First, though, here's your weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, good afternoon to you. I'm here with your GB News weather update coming to you from the Met Office. Lots more cloud, lots more rain to come as we go through the next couple of days. There are signs of something a bit drier for Saturday. More on that in a second. For the time being, we have low pressure to the west of us. It's this bit that's been driving a front in from the southwest. So we've seen some, at times, quite heavy rain making its way in. Further north and east, there's been a fair bit of wet weather across parts of Scotland and northern England as well. And there's more of that to come as we go through this evening and overnight. Increasingly seeing that rain turning to snow over higher ground as well. Elsewhere, yes, there will be some drier breaks, but it's generally staying quite cloudy and there will be some further rain at times. But because of the rather unsettled weather, well, temperatures not dropping a huge amount. Mid-single figures in the north, some places staying in double digits towards the south. So a relatively mild start today for many of us, but actually across a fairly large swathe of Scotland, there's still going to be quite a bit of hill snow around first thing tomorrow morning, and it is a wet start across much of Scotland. Some of the rain could be quite heavy and we could see some impacts, some flooding, some travel disruption. Also a wet start across much of Northern Ireland and, to be honest, across much of England and Wales. The further south you are, the more intermittent the rain's going to be, so not necessarily totally persistent, just some outbreaks of rain, but nonetheless most of us will have a fair amount of wet weather through the morning. Staying wet across northern parts. In the south, something a little bit drier and brighter coming in. Some parts of the southwest could see some glimmers of sunshine before more rain pushes into Cornwall later on. Temperatures will be similar to today really, so highs of around 13 or 14 Celsius towards the south, mid to high single figures further north, and feeling less pleasant because of the persistent rain that's just going to continue. Like I said, we do have some rain fringing some southern counties as we go through tomorrow evening, but across some central parts of England and Wales, some bright, fine weather. More rain to come as we go towards the end of the week, but at the moment, Saturday looks like it's going to be the driest day for quite a while. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for all of you who listen to GB News Radio.
Whether you're at home or on the go, you're making us Britain's news channel and Britain's radio station.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. On the A9 at Blair Athol, both directions are restricted by planned maintenance. On the A5 at Menai Bridge, an accident affects both ways. Northamptonshire's M18 northbound exit slip at Junction 4 has a broken down vehicle, closing one lane. The M6 northbound at Junction 21 near Warrington has a road traffic collision, 3 lanes shut, and delays of around 50 minutes. In Kent, the M20 eastbound entry slip at Junction 9 is closed after a vehicle left the carriageway. And on the trains, Gatwick Express and Great Northern services are disrupted. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
We want you to boost your bank account with an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. There's also a terrific £10,000 to spend on a Riviera travel holiday of a lifetime for 2. So whether you fancy a cruise or an escorted tour, you'll have over 30 worldwide destinations to choose from.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB19, PO Box 8690, Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here to GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Very, very good afternoon to you. It's 5 p.m. and welcome to the Moss and Daubney show here on GB News. We're broadcasting live across the UK, all the very latest news, debate and analysis all the way through until 6 p.m. We've got an action-packed show and here's what's on the menu today. Breaking news in this past hour. Police are searching for a teenage suspect after two boys, aged just 12 and 13, were stabbed at a school playground in north-west London. And we'll keep you up to date as the story develops and a manhunt continues. And also breaking news this afternoon, an Afghan small boat migrant Ahmed Malaki from Afghanistan, aged 24, has been found guilty of abducting and repeatedly raping a 12-year-old girl in the Warwickshire town of Nunaton, and will be live from outside Warwick Crown Court.
Walk away from the mandate I was given to change this country. I will never walk away from the people that I'm charged with fighting for. And I will never walk away from the country that I love.
Well, Keir Starmer vows to never walk away, but will he be shoved away? Is it the end of the Keir show? The Prime Minister makes his first appearance since resignation calls yesterday, saying he will fight against what he calls the divisive politics of Reform UK. I'll be joined in the studio in a short while by Sarah Pochin for her take on that. And today, Andy Burnham gave Keir Starmer his support.
Yes, he has my support. The government has my support. It is absolutely right that people give the government stability in this moment.
But lest we forget, Sir Keir Starmer gave similar support and full confidence to Morgan McSweeney right before he got the job.
Does he have the same full confidence in Morgan McSweeney that he had in Peter Mandelson?
Prime Minister. McSweeney is an essential part of my team. He helped me change the Labour Party and win an election.
So Keir Starmer says he will never walk away, but is he still a dead man walking? And when might his enemies make their move? Welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have your company. A huge amount of breaking news today. A 12-year-old girl raped by a 24-year-old Afghani asylum seeker who came to the country illegally on a small boat. 12-year-old boy murdered by a 15-year-old, stabbed to death and left for dead. A 12-year-old and a 13-year-old stabbed in a playground in north-west London. All of that's breaking news. Plus, I'm joined in studio by Sarah Pochin, the Reform UK MP for Runcorn. She's been banned from a university campus in Bangor in Wales. You've guessed it. Students there have decided that the party is simply too racist. Is it any surprise that students are saying this when today the Prime Minister is calling Reform UK divisive, calling them the party of grievance, saying there's two choices now. The politics of reform or the modern, diverse Britain led by the Labour Party. When I read through those cases at the top of this hour, how do you think this modern, diverse Britain is working out? Get in touch all the usual ways. You can get in touch by doing that. gbnews.com/your say is a way to do so. You can use the QR code on your screens right now. But let's have your headlines with Sam Francis.
Martin, thank you, and good evening to you. The top story at 5. Sir Keir Starmer has said he will never walk away from the country he loves and vows he won't stop fighting for working people. The Prime Minister made the comments as he spoke to members of the public today at a cost of living event in Hertfordshire, just a day after his position came under intense pressure.
Never walk away from the mandate I was given to change this country. I will never walk away from the people that I'm charged with fighting for. And I will never walk away from the country that I love.
Well, Andy Burnham has also said he supports the Prime Minister, calling for unity within the Labour Party as pressure continues to mount on Sir Keir Starmer, despite his comments earlier today. The Mayor of Greater Manchester said he has spoken directly to Sir Keir now, urging a stronger sense of teamwork and for internal briefings to be dialed down as the party faces intense scrutiny.
Yes, he has my support. The government has my support. It is absolutely right that people give the government stability in this moment. I don't agree with you that the government hasn't done anything to support, as you say, working class Britain. I reference things that that we are doing with the government support in Greater Manchester.
Well, news just emerging in the last few minutes that Sir Keir Starmer's former communications chief has apologised for his past association with a councillor convicted of child sex offences and has confirmed he will not take the Labour whip. Lord Matthew Doyle previously campaigned for the former Labour councillor Sean Morton, who admitted possessing indecent images of children in 2017. In a statement, Lord Doyle said his continued support was a clear error of judgment, adding that Morton's crimes were vile and that his thoughts are with the victims. Lord Doyle also said he would sit independently now in the House of Lords and will not take the Labour whip. There has not yet been any response from Sir Keir Starmer. Next to that, breaking news emerging in north-west London, where an urgent search is now underway for a teenager suspected of stabbing two boys, one aged 12, the other 13, at a secondary school in the northwest of the capital. Police were called to Kingsbury High School in Brent shortly after 12:40 this afternoon. The school then put emergency procedures in place, restricted access to the school site, and did later release students once the situation was brought under control. The Met Police say a teenage boy has been identified as a suspect and urgent inquiries to locate him are now underway. But they have confirmed there is no ongoing threat and their investigation is continuing. Next, an Afghan asylum seeker has been found guilty today of abducting and raping a 12-year-old girl in Nunaton. Ahmad Malakil admitted one count of rape and was unanimously convicted of another count of rape, of abducting and taking indecent video of the young girl. The court heard the 23-year-old took the child to a quiet cul-de-sac where police say she was then the victim of extremely horrific sexual offences. Co-defendant 24-year-old Mohammed Kabir was found not guilty of all charges, including strangulation, attempted child abduction and attempting to commit a sexual offence. And the Prince of Wales has been challenged over Andrew Mountbatten Windsor as the Jeffrey Epstein scandal continues to overshadow the royal family. Prince William was questioned by a reporter during his first high-profile trip to Saudi Arabia, but he didn't respond as he walked away. It comes after fresh releases of documents linked to Epstein have reignited scrutiny of Andrew, who was stripped of his royal titles last year and has denied any wrongdoing. Ahead of that visit to Riyadh, Kensington Palace said the Prince of Wales and his wife Catherine were deeply concerned by the continued revelations, adding that their thoughts remain with the victims. Those are the latest headlines for now. Now let's get right back to Martin.
Thank you very, very much, Sam. Let's return now to that breaking news this hour, and it's this. Two boys aged just 12 and 13 have been stabbed at a school in Brent in northwest London, and officers are searching for a teenage suspect, the Metropolitan Police has said. Now, we have a statement from the Kingsbury High School where the stabbing took place, and it says the serious incident is now under control. They continue, we want to make you aware that there has been a serious incident at Kingsbury High School today. We are working closely with the relevant authorities and following all necessary procedures. The situation is now under control, and we have already spoken directly with the parents and carers of the students involved, and we understand that this will be concerning. And at present, it is not possible to enter or leave the school site while the response continues, and we will provide further updates as soon as we are able to share confirmed information. A spokesperson for the London Ambulance Service has confirmed the extent of their injuries remain unclear at this time, and they said we were called at 12:41 p.m. today to reports of a stabbing on Bacon Lane, London Northwest 9. We sent resources to the scene, including ambulance crews, incident response officers, an advanced paramedic, a paramedic from our tactical response unit, and a clinical team manager. We also dispatched a trauma team in a car from London's Air Ambulance, and we treated 2 patients in total. We took 1 patient to hospital and the other as a priority to a major trauma centre. Now moving on to more harrowing news this afternoon. The Afghan small boat migrant Ahmed Malaki has been found guilty of abducting and repeatedly raping a 12-year-old girl in the Warwickshire town of Nunaton. And GB News' Homeland Security editor Mark White has the details from Warwick Crown Court. Mark, welcome to the show. An incredibly harrowing case. Today, at last, justice has been served. Tell us more.
Well, I think way too often we appear together, Martin, talking about another migrant and asylum seeker given safe haven in this country who have gone on to commit the most horrific of offences. And here today, a prime example of that. 23-year-old Ahmed Malakil, who came here in March of last year, arrived illegally on a small boat across the English Channel, was put into accommodation in Nunaton, and then just 4 months after arriving here, just 4 months later, he committed this series of crimes, a horrific abduction and rape and sexual assault of a girl aged just 12 years old. He and another asylum seeker, Mohammed Kabir, had met this girl in a local park in Nunaton on the 22nd of July last year, had spoken for a while to the girl. Then in the evening, around about 8 o'clock in the evening, Ahmed Malakil abducted this 12-year-old girl, took her to a secluded cul-de-sac in the town and repeatedly raped her, sexually assaulted her, and also took photographs or took images of this young girl while he was sexually attacking her. Well, today the jury found him guilty on those multiple counts of rape, sexual assault, abduction and taking those indecent images. Mohammed Kabir, though, after some 7 hours and 39 minutes of deliberations, was found not guilty on all counts by the jury. Well, we've been speaking to Colette O'Keefe from Warwickshire Police, who reflected on the case.
She'd been out playing in Marlborough Park. She was on the zip wire when she first noticed two men. She's left with Mr. Malakil. They walk off towards Cheverel Place, and at the bottom of there, it's a cul-de-sac. It's very secluded. She was subjected to the most horrendous rape, sexual assault. I think they were very opportunistic. I think they saw that female hours before the actual offence. I think from there they targeted her. I don't think they went out that day to identify this particular victim. I think they just took an opportunity with her. In this particular case, you've got a 12-year-old victim. It's extremely important for her that we get justice, and we have.
Martin, this case changed the way in which information is released when it relates to illegal immigrants or asylum seekers involved in criminality after they've been charged, because there were widespread protests in Nuneaton in the immediate aftermath of this horrible attack. And that has now meant a change in the law in which some of the information regarding the ethnicity or immigration status of an individual who's been charged can be put out into the public realm. Well, today Ahmed Malakil was in court to hear the verdicts returned against him. The girl herself, when we heard videotaped evidence from her, spoke of being absolutely petrified of the fact that Ahmed Malakil laughed as he was attacking her, raping her and sexually assaulting her. Today, Martin, he wasn't laughing, he was crying in the dock as those guilty verdicts were returned.
Good. Good. Maybe cries for years in prison where he belongs as an absolute maggot who's destroyed someone's life. 4 months in this country. Justice has been served. Thank you, Mark White, for joining us on the show from Warwick Crown Court on another day where our children seem to just been thrown to the mercy in this country. Look, I'm joined in the studio for some reaction by GB News' political editor Chris Hope and also the Reform UK MP Sarah Pochin. Sarah Pochin, before we get onto the politics of the day, I wanted to get your reaction to that. I know you're listening in, I know you care deeply about safety of women and girls. Some of the detail of this case, as well as the crime itself, was the reaction of the guilty. Mr. Malakil was laughing. He said there was no reflection in court. This is what we've heard from court. There's no reflection. Nothing in retrospect made him consider he'd made a mistake. He blamed her, the 12-year-old. He lied. He thought the 12-year-old was 20 or 19, but definitely over 18. No remorse, no regret. And a lot of people might say, how many more of these cases do we have to hear before something's done about it?
Look, we know, don't we, government statistics tell us that these illegal asylum seekers, particularly of the Afghan origin, are 20 times more likely to rape and sexually assault in this country when they get here. They have medieval attitudes towards our women and girls. When is this government going to secure our borders and do what they say they always do, and that is put the safety of women and girls first? But they clearly don't. Our children are being raped. And that is because our borders are not secure, our streets are not safe. This young girl was out playing in a park. We've just heard that. I know in my own constituency of Runcorn and Helsby, mothers tell me that they will not let their young girls anymore go out in the parks by themselves. It is not safe.
Thank you, Sarah. Chris Hope, let's turn to other matters today. Of course, fighting for his very survival yesterday to Keir Starmer. Today, coming out defiantly saying, I will never walk away. But there's been another breaking news story in this past few moments. More scandal enveloping the Labour Party.
Yes, it seems that way. I'll just take you back to the beginning here. Matthew Doyle, Lord Doyle, he was the Director of Communications for Labour 2021 to 2024. Labour enter office. He then becomes the Director of Communications in number 10 until March last year when he quit. He's now been given a peerage by Sir Keir Starmer, but it's emerged by reporting by the Sunday Times of his connections to Sean Morton, who has pled guilty to indecent images of children. Now, to take you back, he was charged, Morton, in December 2016. Matthew Doyle then campaigned with him in May 2017. That's 6 months later. In November 2017, Sean Morton admitted having indecent images of children. Now, number 10, I should say what Lord Doyle says about this. He has now said that he will not sit as a Labour peer, but he's about to enter the House of Lords, despite this connection. He says when he campaigned with Morton, he repeatedly asserted to all who knew him his innocence. We've seen that before elsewhere, about these claims of innocence on a different area altogether. Following that conviction, so although despite being convicted, Doyle stayed in touch, although in an extremely limited way, twice at events when he was there, once to check on his welfare. Lord Doyle says, I'm sorry about the mistakes I've made. I won't be taking the Labour whip. Now, number 10 say they weren't aware Matthew Doyle had campaigned for Sean Morton back in 2016. The Tories smell a rat here. Kemi Badenoch have said this in the past few moments. Keir Starmer gave a peerage to Matthew Doyle despite knowing about his ongoing friendship with a man charged with child sex crimes. The Prime Minister has now suspended the whip, but he must come clean about what he was told before making this appointment. So yet again, this Labour government dragged down into sleaze. And this, I mean, I don't see really how Lord Doyle can become a peer, given what is known now. But of course, I think this once you've been appointed a peer by the King, it carries on. I mean, it beggars belief, Martin.
It honestly does. Let's try and park that to one side. We've got so much to get through. I want to talk about the Prime Minister earlier on, fighting for his life. I will never walk away, but Sarah Pochin, he turned his guns on Reform UK again. He said, there are two choices. The politics of divide, 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 grievance, 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 that'll tear our country apart. That's you, Reform UK. You're the problem. What do you make of that?
Well, there are two choices. There are the choice of Reform UK or the choice of failing uni party, you know, the Tories and the Labour. And the British people have absolutely had enough of these failing governments, of this sleaze, of inaction. Both Tories and Labour have failed to protect women and girls. Both governments have failed to secure our borders. And they accuse us of division. It's not the politics of division. It's the politics of putting the safety of the British people first, of putting our sovereignty and our national security at the top of the agenda. I have heard Keir Starmer in the chamber say that it is every government's priority, it should be every government's priority to make national security a priority. The problem is we can't defend ourselves, we could secure our borders if the government had the will. He is attacking Reform because Reform are the only party now that has the will to put safety of its citizens first and to secure the borders.
Sarah Poach, I also need to get you quickly onto another story because you're here today because, I mean, is there any wonder that students on campuses think Reform UK are racist when we have Darren Jones echoing the Prime Minister's sentiment today saying you have two choices, a modern diverse Britain led by Labour or a dark, divisive Britain under Reform UK, and you found yourself on the receiving end of a cancellation. You've been cancelled by Bangor University. What happened?
So Bangor University declined my offer of debating there with their debating society. So their debating society is not prepared to debate with me. I mean, how ironic.
Why not?
Our young minds are so poisoned now by the education system, by lecturers, and by teachers before them, that they are now not able or not willing to debate in a way that should broaden their mind and should open their thinking. And I've been told that I am racist, homophobic and transphobic. Well, I'll tell you why. Racist because I want to stop things like the rape of that 12-year-old girl that we've just heard about by Afghan migrant. Homophobic, there's not a homophobic bone in my body. You know, my brother's gay and happily married. Transphobic, and I tell you why they call me that, because I want to stop this trial by Wes Streeting of 7-year-old children being given puberty blockers to change their sex.
Bangor University are doubling down. They say we stand by the decision as a committee. We have zero tolerance for any form of racism, transphobia or homophobia displayed by the members of Reform UK. Your head of policy, Zia Youssef, has suggested perhaps that Bangor University should be defunded. They get £30 million in state funding every single year. And he says, basically, if you don't want money, if Reform get in power, they could defund the university altogether. It sounds like there's some kind of war being declared on woke here.
There is a war on woke. The fact is that the university should be a place of free speech, particularly a debating society. And the fact that they want to cancel Reform because we don't agree with their rules, so they only want to debate with people that agree with their views. Absolutely ridiculous.
OK, Sarah Perchin, thank you. I think we have another guest waiting now.
There's more lines coming.
Beg your pardon, we have a right to reply we have to read out, and let's get that here because we need to be fair and equitable. It says here a spokesperson for Bangor University said this. The social media post was issued by a student society and not by Bangor University. Student societies are created and run by students throughout the Independent Students' Union, and the views expressed by societies are their own and do not reflect university policy. Bangor University remains politically neutral and supports freedom of speech, welcoming debate from across the political spectrum. Well, meanwhile, Sir Keir Starmer's political fight back continues, and I'm joined now by the columnist Will Hutton. Will, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have your company. Sir Keir Starmer says he will never walk away, perhaps, though he might be shoved away. Today, Andy Burnham says he fully supports Sir Keir Starmer. Again, the full support of anybody in the Labour Party at the moment seems tantamount to getting the black dot. Seems like a death sentence.
I think pro tem Keir Starmer is alive to fight on another day. And I don't think that yesterday's hijinks were ever likely to lead to him resigning. There just isn't for a start, there's not an obvious candidate to replace him. But secondly, I don't think the Labour Party is in the mood for an election for another leader now. And there's a recognition, which I would guess many of your viewers share, that actually, whatever your politics, having a seventh Prime Minister in 10 years is not great. We've been through all that with Liz Truss, Rishi Sunak, Boris Johnson. We don't want to go there again. There's no appetite in the electorate for another election, and there's no appetite to have another change of prime minister. So they're kind of stuck with what they've got. And actually, Starmer himself, did, by all accounts, did well both with his cabinet ministers and well with his parliamentary party. So, pro tem, I think he'll be there. And I think unless there's some amazing disaster or calamity, he's likely to be there until the summer.
Well, don't rule out a disaster or calamity. They seem to be daily occurrences. We just had another one in this past 10 minutes. It seems to be a party stricken with disaster after disaster. But I want to, Will Hutton, specifically focus on something the Prime Minister said today, if I could. Just mention it to Sarah Potion. It seems to be the consistent line of attack from the Reform Party. There are two choices: the light of holiness, the path of the righteous, Darren Jones, a modern, diverse Britain led by Labour, or a dark, divisive Britain under Reform UK. Conservatives, notably, aren't even mentioned in this equation anymore. But I put it to you, Sir Keir Starmer's been tin-eared about calling his opponents racist ever since the aftermath of the Southport riots. Is it really a good strategy to call everybody who doesn't vote for you or agree with you racist?
Personally, I find the whole language in which today's political debate is conducted over the top. I mean, I thought some of the political reporting yesterday by BBC's Chris Mason, I didn't see GB News yesterday, but some of the language was really extravagant.
Should have tuned in. We annihilated their viewing figures. We annihilated Sky News and BBC News combined. Check the data. This is the place to be for breaking news. Anyway, Will Hutton, over to you.
Well, I mean, I thought the language was extravagant in which yesterday was described. It was always obvious once you got the unanimous support of his cabinet that he was going to pull through. And actually, all this brinkmanship on the brink, in jeopardy, he's fighting for his life. I thought it was completely over the top. I mean, that may come in the summer, but it wasn't yesterday. And I found, and again, I think interestingly, I do think that some of the heat will be taken out of British politics when two things happen. I mean, I think reform is kind of flatlining at around, depending on the pollster, 28, 29, 30%. And actually, plainly, if it wants to not fall back like other insurgent parties done in the past.
Will Hutton, flatlining is something Sir Keir Starmer can only dream of. He's going downhill faster than the American bobsleigh team.
Well, just let me finish the point. I think that, Nigel Farage is an astute guy, and I think he's already showing signs. I don't think he particularly wants reform to be the kind of refuge for failed Tories anymore. He set a deadline of May. And my expectation is that reform will start to if you want to win general elections in Britain, you have to kind of have some line out to the political centre. And I think that, I think securing our borders is a good line, but the immigration numbers are really collapsing. And actually, by the end of next year, we could have net emigration from Britain. And that story, I think, will actually kind of have less venom, both for those who want to make the argument and those who criticise reform. Do you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah, I do, but I'm afraid there's only one real poll that counts, and that's the election polls. All eyes on May the 7th. Let's look what happens when the people decide, by the way, in the elections whether they're actually allowed to vote, because quite a few of them were cancelled by the Labour Party. I wonder why. Will Hutton, thank you very much for joining us. Sarah Potion, superb as ever. Chris Hope, thank you very, very much indeed. Now, please don't go anywhere, because soon we'll cross live to Washington to join the beautiful Bev Turner. She's met the new US ambassador. That's next on GB News, Britain's #1 news channel. Don't bother with the rivals. It's all happening here.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
It's 5:31. Let's cross live now to Washington, D.C., where GB News presenter Bev Turner met with the new British ambassador to the US, Christian Turner. Bev Turner, it's always beautiful to see you. Tell us all about Christian Turner.
Hi, Martin. Well, obviously, there was great excitement yesterday to meet the man who has taken over from Peter Mandelson. There were about 8 British journalists who were invited to the ambassador's residence. Now, this guy is a career civil servant. He is apolitical. He's not a member of the Labour Party. He's not a member of the Conservatives. He is in town to do the best job possible for the country. And I genuinely got the impression from him that that is precisely what he wants to do. To give you an idea of his background, British High Commissioner to Pakistan. He's been the political director of foreign affairs in the Commonwealth and Development Office. He was a deputy national security advisor under Theresa May. He was the British High Commissioner to Kenya. He was going to be the British ambassador to the United Nations. He was going to be moving to New York City. And then, of course, Peter Mandelson had to step down, and Christian Turner and his wife Claire, who I met last night, found themselves on a very last-minute change of schedule to arrive in Washington, D.C. Now, he has worked in Washington before. I don't think he's naive in any way to the machinations of this particular city, and he knows that he has to get involved with trade and security, and he needs to lean in so that the UK is in the strongest possible position with President Trump in office, when, as we know, the relationship between Trump and Starmer is not always going to be straightforward, particularly at the moment. He's a public school boy, went to Marlborough College, did English at Manchester, actually at university, the same as me. We think we crossed over by about 1 year. He then went on and did a PhD in medieval studies and was working on Tony Robinson's Time Team show, doing archaeological digs, when Tony Robinson said to him that he should take up a job as a diplomat. And he said, and from that point onwards, he never looked back. So I would say, Martin, having met him last night, he's a very safe pair of hands. He's got a bit of edge about him. You don't always see that in public school boys, if you don't mind me saying. He doesn't mind a little bit of debate. We had some robust debates in the room in the ambassador's residence last night. Big roaring fire, champagne and canapes, just as you would expect. Very pleasant indeed. And he's going to make time for journalists. He's going to make time for British journalists, probably weekly or twice weekly gatherings. And from some of the journalists in the room there who were here when Peter Mandelson was in that house. They were saying that he would hold these briefings with a very few select people that he would invite. And sometimes his phone would be ringing and it would say Starmer or Lammy, and he would just ignore it and carry on talking to the press. So interesting appointment, Martin. I think a safe pair of hands, and I will be obviously getting as much information from him as I can on behalf of GB News over the coming months.
Bev Turner, champagne, fireside chats, ambassadors, canapé. I've got a cold coffee here in Westminster. Bev, it's always beautiful to see you. We miss you desperately. Late Show Live, of course, from midnight. Bev Turner, fantastic. Thanks for joining us. Now, good. This is your... Now it's your traffic and your travel update. Let's get that.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The A9 at Blair Athol is restricted both ways for planned maintenance. On the M4 eastbound, there are delays after an accident between Junction 34 at Miskin and Junction 33 at Capel Lanilturn. The M6 northbound at Junction 21 is suffering lengthy hold-ups after a road traffic collision. The A50 eastbound is slow between the A518 and the A515 near Sudbury. The M5 northbound exit slip at Junction 15 is partially blocked after a crash. And on the trains, there is disruption across the Gatwick Express network. And on Great Northern between Hertford North and Stevenage. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Very good evening to you. The 5:30 headlines. Sir Keir Starmer has said he will never walk away from the country he loves or from the mandate he was given.
Never walk away from the mandate I was given to change this country. I will never walk away from the people that I'm charged with fighting for. And I will never walk away from the country that I love.
Speaking at a cost of living event in Hertfordshire earlier, the Prime Minister thanked his strong and united cabinet after renewed pressure. But the Tory leader Kemi Badenoch says it's still a matter of when, not if, he goes. Breaking this evening, an urgent search is underway for a teenager suspected of stabbing two boys at a secondary school in northwest London. Police were called to Kingsbury High School after two boys, 12 and 13-year-olds, were taken to hospital. One has been taken to a major trauma centre as a priority. Also this evening, a 23-year-old Afghan asylum seeker has been found guilty of abducting and raping a 12-year-old girl in Nunaton. Ahmad Malakil was unanimously convicted at Warwick Crown Court. Co-defendant, 24-year-old Mohammed Kabir, was found not guilty on all charges. And the Prince of Wales has been challenged over Prince Andrew as the Epstein scandal continues to cast a shadow over the royal family. Prince William was questioned by a reporter during a visit to Saudi Arabia but did not respond. It comes after Buckingham Palace confirmed the King stands ready to support police in their investigation if asked. Those are the headlines for now. I'll be back with the news at 6.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Hello, good afternoon to you. I'm here with your GB News weather update coming to you from the Met Office. Lots more cloud, lots more rain to come as we go through the next couple of days. There are signs of something a bit drier for Saturday. More on that in a second. For the time being, we have low pressure to the west of us. It's this bit that's been driving a front in from the southwest. So we've seen some, at times, quite heavy rain making its way in. Further north and east, there's been a fair bit of wet weather across parts of Scotland and northern England as well. And there's more of that to come as we go through this evening and overnight. Increasingly seeing that rain turning to snow over higher ground as well. Elsewhere, yes, there will be some drier breaks, but it's generally staying quite cloudy and there will be some further rain at times. But because of the rather unsettled weather, well, temperatures not dropping a huge amount. Mid-single figures in the north, some places staying in double digits towards the south. So a relatively mild start today for many of us, but actually across a fairly large swathe of Scotland, there's still going to be quite a bit of hill snow around first thing tomorrow morning, and it is a wet start across much of Scotland. Some of the rain could be quite heavy and we could see some impacts, some flooding, some travel disruption. Also a wet start across much of Northern Ireland and, to be honest, across much of England and Wales. The further south you are, the more intermittent the rain's going to be. So not necessarily totally persistent, just some outbreaks of rain, but nonetheless, most of us will have a fair amount of wet weather through the morning. Staying wet across northern parts. In the south, something a little bit drier and brighter coming in. Some parts of the southwest could see some glimmers of sunshine before more rain pushes into Cornwall later on. Temperatures will be similar to today, really, so highs of around 13 or 14 Celsius towards the south, mid to high single figures further north, and feeling less pleasant because of the persistent rain that's just going to continue. Like I said, we do have some rain fringing some southern counties as we go through tomorrow evening, but across some central parts of England and Wales, some bright, fine weather. More rain to come as we go towards the end of the week, but at the moment, Saturday looks like it's going to be the driest day for quite a while. Bye-bye.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
It's 5:41. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, immigration accounts for an astonishing almost 1 in 10 of all new patients registering with GPs in the United Kingdom. More than 752,000 new GP registrations were flagged as people whose previous addresses were outside the UK and spent more than 3 months abroad. And that is just last year alone. Think about that. Almost 750,000 people in 1 year alone from overseas registering for a GP. You ever wondered why you can't get an appointment? We're joined in the studio to discuss this by the former Immigration Minister, Tom Percival. Tom, welcome to the show. Always a pleasure to have your company. It's an incredible amount of people. 752,000 in 1 year alone. That's more people than live in Liverpool, Bradford, Sheffield, Leicester or Newcastle. Is there any wonder people watching this show are struggling to see their GPs?
Well, there'll be lots and lots of your viewers who do have that very struggle when they telephone their surgery trying to get an appointment and the capacity is log-jammed. And so this is the sort of issue that really highlights, in my mind, that issue of consent with the public about migration that I think is put in such jeopardy when you look at these small boat crossings of the Channel, but also when you look at legal migration to this country. And admittedly, those who come via legal migration routes pay the immigration health surcharge, which contributes to these services. But if you don't have sustainable numbers of people coming, it does put a lot of strain on the system. And actually, for those Brits who've paid in year after year after year, who do the right thing, go to work hard, who then can't get the sort of service that they expect when they need it, that is very disheartening and unacceptable.
But people might come here legally, but there are 1.2 million foreign nationals claiming universal credit. They won't pay anything towards the NHS.
What should happen, if you've come on a legal migration visa and you no longer meet the requirements of that visa, so, for example, if you've come on a skilled worker visa, if you no longer meet that criteria because you no longer have that job, for example, that visa should be curtailed and you should return back to your home country. I think that is common sense. I think that's what the British people would expect. But also, the other people that would be included in these numbers are those small boat migrants who've come to this country illegally. My view is that those people should be detained and they should either be returned to their country of origin or they should be relocated to a third country. That would immediately help to address some of this strain and get rid of that unfairness out of the system.
But instead, we're hearing, Tom, in places like Crowborough, at the cadet barracks there's a VIP ensuite health service for everyone that's come to the country illegally. The locals can't even see a GP or a dentist. There's a two-tiered health system. If you come to the country illegally, you get the full bells and whistles.
And the argument will be that what they don't want to have is that site having an adverse impact on local health services that already exist. But there is an inherent unfairness there, isn't there? That if you break the rules and you come to this country, that there is some sort of reward in the sense that public services are provided at a premium gold standard level for you, even though you've broken the law. And I just think that that is where this is really straining at the edges now with the public. People see this for what it is. And these are political choices that this government is making. They are choosing not to have a third country removals arrangement like we wanted to have with Rwanda. They are choosing to look, for example, at accommodating migrants in council housing. They are choosing not to change the law, which would help us to facilitate the removals of these people.
It's worth pointing out that now the amount of people who get a face-to-face appointment with a GP is 63%, down from 84% before COVID. I suspect, Tom, it will get much worse as time goes on. But thanks for your time. As ever, in the studio here in Westminster, Tom Purcell, pleasure to have your company. Thank you. Now, the NHS spokesman has told GB News this. This data does not state a person's nationality and includes people staying in England temporarily for 3 months. Meanwhile, a government spokesman has said that such a comparison with the ONS figures would be flawed because the registration data set cannot be used to judge nationality or immigration status. Well, my reply to that is simple. Give us the data. What are you afraid of? Show us the truth. Let the public make their own mind up. Now, coming up next, an 84-year-old British pensioner is refusing to pay his council tax. That's in a defiant response to Labour cancelling elections in his town. Meet the man on council tax strike. That's next on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
I take it as a huge compliment that people remember it. I mean, let's be honest. How many times do people actually remember something you have done on television? And people remember that. But I take it as a huge compliment because, let's face it, Morecambe and Wise were loved. They are probably two of the greatest comics that we have ever produced in this country. And their legacy is that even, I think Eric died in 1984 when I was working in America. And so we're talking about, over 40 years ago. There are at least two generations of young people who now watch them on television, who laugh because they think they are funny. You know, they left us that legacy of what it is like to be a good comic. And I had the pleasure of working with them on that. How many people can say, well, you know, people will remember a particular thing you did in your career as a television broadcaster? And the fact that people did love them, I take as, you know, when people say to me, what was it like to work with Eric and Ern? They want to know, because I'm that vicarious link with them still, because there aren't too many people around still that can say they did work with them. So I mean, yes, of course I've got, you know, in 60 years of working in television, there are lots of other things that I've done, but I'm always, and that people remember me for reading the news. They remember us for all sorts of things, and it's a compliment always.
And you read in the news, that all comes together, starts in the 1970s, which to me was the greatest time in broadcasting. I think it started to dip off slightly after that. The 70s, I think, they were
your heyday.
I just think everything, and I think it had a lot to do with what was attainable to us as viewers, which was very little. We lived in a world that was divorced from the world of TV, and it was magical.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Time's 5:49 now. An 84-year-old pensioner is refusing to pay his council tax. And that's in a defiant response to the Labour Party cancelling elections in his town. Let's now speak to the defiant pensioner himself, Mr. David Elliott. David, welcome to the show. 84 years old and your rebellious streak is strong. Tell us, why do you decide to go on council tax strike?
Hello, Martin. Can I just correct you? I'm not refusing to pay council tax. What I am doing is declining to pay an unelected authority my good money.
OK, that's made that point clear. But nevertheless, the net result is they're not getting your wonga because they've cancelled elections. Tell us all about it.
Well, I feel, that I've been deprived of my democratic right to elect a council, a local council authority. And it's against my, judgment. I hate it. It makes me angry. We were refused the ability to vote last year, and apparently we're going to be refused the opportunity again this year. So
you live in Watton, right? You live in Watton in Norfolk. And that, of course, is one of 30 local authorities across Britain to cancel the elections. 4.5 million people aren't having the chance to vote. And I guess this is the good old-fashioned no taxation without representation, right?
Exactly, yeah. It's what I find is we hear all this about human rights for the illegal invasion of this country, and yet my human right to place a vote and even free speech, amongst other things, are being deprived of. It makes me angry, makes me very, very angry. And as a result of that, I felt the only action I could take to make my point was to decline from paying and withholding my council tax once I get the bill, and intending to let the council know that that's my intention.
So ostensibly you're stockpiling the money, you're squirreling it away until such a time as there is an opportunity for you to vote in a democratic election. So you're not withholding money, you're not breaking the law. And by the way, David Elliott, of course, at GB News, we would never encourage anybody to withhold money or to break the law. You're simply saying, I'm keeping it in my top pocket or your money box or whatever it is until such a time as that you're allowed to vote. And what's the response been amongst your buddies?
I don't see too many people now because I'm not very mobile, but most of the people I speak to are really well behind the idea. Not sure that they'll do the same because of the obvious risks of imprisonment for failing to pay.
David Elliott, could I ask you about the state of the nation? Today, we've seen the story of an Afghan 24-year-old raped a 12-year-old girl, a 12 and a 13-year-old lad stabbed in a playground, a 12-year-old boy stabbed. And when you think you're 84, you've seen the country, probably a lot of people watching this will think, at its greatest point in history, and that's the past. When you see the country now and you see the elected representatives we have, and you put your money in, do you think you're getting good value for money for your council tax?
Absolutely not. No, definitely not getting good value. It's I don't mind paying a tax. I'm quite happy, providing I can see that I'm getting value for my tax, for my money that I'm parting with. As a pensioner, it's not hard to find the money, but it's not easy. It does leave me a little short of cash on occasions. But and to think that this is the world's crazy. I've come through the end of the World War II, rationing, and we've had some deprivation and hard times, but these times now are just frightening.
OK, David Elliott, look, we have to sign off there. We've run out of time, but I'm so in awe of people like you that just have your faculties. You don't want to take this standing down. Thank you very much for joining us, David Elliott. It's a pleasure to have your company. You mind now you go, mate. Thank you very, very much indeed. Love that. Our spokesman for the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government has told GB News this. Council tax helps fund vital public services, including children's services and adult social care, and we expect local authorities to continue to collect it as usual. There you go. Up next, Jubes, the Queen of Primetime Debate. Jubes, what's on your menu?
Hello, Martin. Well, I am echoing your upset, your anger, your frustration, your absolute despair at the news that yet again, that thing that apparently never happens and makes us all far right if we worry about it, the rape of another child by a not-so-small boat migrant has occurred again. I'll take a look at that. Also, so much more I want to get stuck into. In Northern Ireland, they name and shame benefit cheats. Should we do the same? See you in a second.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again, very good evening to you. This is your GB News weather update coming to you from the Met Office. The cloudy and rather the wet theme is going to stick with us as we go through the rest of today, overnight and into tomorrow. There's an area of low pressure to the west of us, and this is bringing some blustery winds towards the southwest, also the northeast. And then we have a couple of fronts moving their way in, a big band of quite persistent rain running from eastern England up through northern England across much of Scotland. And here we are seeing some hill snow over parts of Scotland as well through the night. Elsewhere, there'll be outbreaks of rain coming in from the southwest across England, Wales and also Northern Ireland. Because of the cloud, because of the rain, well, it's not going to be a particularly chilly night. Mid-single figures across much of the north and some places towards the south, staying in double digits. So a fairly mild start to the day tomorrow. Across southern parts, there will be some rain around, but it'll be outbreaks of rain, so some drier weather, some wet weather at times. The further north we go, the more persistent the rain's going to be. Quite a damp start to the day. It's not especially heavy, but it is just going to be very wet, and worth bearing in mind that the rainfall totals could be building up, particularly across some parts of eastern Scotland and also southwest Scotland. Could see some high totals, could be a bit of flooding, also some travel disruption as we go through tomorrow. Staying wet then through the day across the northern half of the UK. Further south, something a bit drier, maybe even some bright or sunny spells developing across the south and southwest. And here temperatures similar to today with highs of around 13, possibly 14 Celsius, but if anything, feeling slightly nicer because of the sunshine that's breaking through. As we go into Thursday, again, more cloud on offer. There will be rain around. We have a band of rain coming in from the west and then outbreaks of rain coming in from the east. Some glimmers of sunshine may be dotted around away from the wet weather, but on the whole, it's going to stay pretty grey. Another grey and wet day on Friday before Saturday, Valentine's Day, does look set to bring a sunnier treat.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you for making us Britain's #1 news channel. Together, we have built something truly extraordinary.
Good evening. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. On the A9 at Blair Athol, planned maintenance is restricting traffic in both directions. On the M4 eastbound, there are delays after an earlier crash between junction 34 at Miskin and junction 33 at Capel Lanilturn. In Doncaster, a broken-down vehicle is blocking one of two lanes on the M18 northbound exit slip at junction 4. Also, on the A50 westbound around Uttoxeter, congestion is causing delays, and on the trains there is disruption across the Gatwick Express network, and Great Western Railway is reporting disruption on multiple routes. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
You could win cash and the ultimate holiday in our two-part Great British Giveaway. Thanks to Riviera Travel, you could be jetting off on a £10,000 dream holiday for two people. With flights, transfers and luxury accommodation included, you'll get to choose the kind of holiday you want. Plus, we're going to give you £30,000 in tax-free cash.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost